All right, here we go on a Monday. Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. We are an hour away from essentially free agency starting in the NFL. A legal tampering window. Should be a busy and fun show.
Already busy.
Yeah, a lot going on. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. This next couple of days is why the NFL is king. Between Chris Jones getting an extension over the weekend, we're obviously going to talk about that throughout the show. Nate Taylor's going to join us in 40 minutes from The Athletic. And then just the fact that there's already a lot of rumblings happening across the NFL, even though we're an hour away from the legal tampering period. That means here in about an hour, multiple Chiefs players become unrestricted free agents. Guys like Willie Gay Jr. and Mike Dana and Derek Nottie. We can keep going. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, just to name a few of the, 10 to 15 players that will become free agents, unrestricted free agents here in an hour. So it could be a busy show, could have some moves happen, but we, of course, do start with the news of the weekend. And after weeks and weeks and really a year of speculation in terms of what a deal would be if the Chiefs were to retain Chris Jones, now we have our answer. We know Chris Jones signs what was initially reported and makes the agent look even better as a 5-year deal.
$158 million.
It's really a 3-year contract for still a huge chunk of change, $95 million. It's the Aaron Donald deal, $95 million. It's exactly the Aaron Donald deal plus $300,000. That's why they can say it's the biggest defensive tackle deal ever, because there's a couple workout bonuses that make it like $95.3 million, Cody. We can get into a lot of implications with this because there are a ton, long-term, short-term, but just this contract that was signed for Chris Jones, he wanted to be the highest-paid defensive tackle in football. That's exactly what he got, and it came when he was a year older. That's what's even more impressive about it. He got the deal that they wouldn't sign in August now.
Which means the Chiefs didn't get a good deal. They could have paid him less last year. I'm not saying this deal, I'm not willing to say, this deal's going to blow up in their face. Because I don't feel that way. And I think sometimes because we saw the way Chris Jones got motivated by $1 million at the end of last year, or the reason he was holding out, and we knew that the money was important to him, people are always afraid of paying those players that are driven by money. He's been paid before, and he still played great. They won multiple Super Bowls after paying him. I'm not worried about him getting a contract and then just being like, time to kick up the old feet. Guess I don't have to work that hard. But they had to overpay him. Even though he didn't hit the full free agency market, they had to pay full free agency market pay. They did not get a discount. There's no deal to be had here. They kept the cap number really low in year one, which probably means they're not done. But they've hurt their cap situation. I don't know. It's going to be hard to imagine a way in which they're not going to have to shed some cap somewhere in 2026 at the latest, probably at this rate.
We can get into the long-term ramifications and what 2026 means and stuff throughout the show if we want. I'm with you. That's where I'm guessing part of their thought is the cap is just going to keep going up at a ridiculous rate, and so it suddenly won't look as bad by the time you get there. Look, the mistake they made is not getting it done before the season. I'm totally thrilled Chris Jones is back in a Chiefs uniform. I think you are as well. But based off of the deal, this is one of those situations that's kind of rare in the Brett Veach era where, if they would have got the deal done before, you would have had the player making maybe similar amount of money, but he would have been a year younger by the time the big dollars kicked in. Now, did they have the cap space necessarily to do that? Well, yeah. Last year, remember, he was still, over $20 million on the books, or $26 million, I think, wasn't it?
Yep.
On the books. So, yeah, they had room. This exact deal, they could have fit under last year's because it would have been a lower cap hit. So, yeah, that was where they miscalculated, and that was always my hesitation when it didn't happen by week 1 of last year. When he sat out the Lions game was, they didn't get it done then. Why would they get it done after? Well, what has happened, he's a year older, but what happened? I do think the fact that Chris Jones went out there and had another really, really strong year, didn't show any sign of aging.
Won another Super Bowl.
Stayed healthy, won another ring, and now that this franchise is trying to complete something that's never been done in NFL history, and that is three-peating, going for the three-peat, that to me is why this deal actually got done. And it also reminds us, Cody, why we can add his name to now the list of 3. How many times did we discuss post-Tyreek Hill trade that,
who is actually protected?
Yeah, kind of like who's part of the small circle.
Yep.
And Tyreek Hill was not part of that. They were willing to give Tyreek Hill big-time money, not the top, not setting the market. They said, no, we're not. We love you. We think you're a hell of a player. We're not going to do it for you. And they only said they were going to do it for Mahomes and Kelsey because their actions said that. Now Chris Jones is part of that club. They have said, you are also the exception to what is typically the way we operate. The same reason why and we'll talk about Sneed in 25 minutes, the same reason why I think Sneed's going to get traded. I don't think he is part of that group. Chris Jones is.
Well, and I've told you before that the reason why, so I think you'd be lying to yourself if you didn't say that this deal wasn't risky. That's a lot of money for and again, they're going to pay a player into their 30s, Gold, well into their 30s. I don't think he's ever going to see 5 years of this deal. That would be absolutely stunning. But
yeah, no way.
They're going to pay a guy into his 30s, top dollar, top of the mark defensive tackle money. But I think they wanted their guy that was, the Mahomes of the defense. And there's no argument that Chris Jones is, I think we've made this argument before, he's either the second or third most important player on this team. I don't need to go back and forth. I think you and Dusty got into it.
Yeah.
Between Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. Yeah. I don't remember what his answer was.
His was Travis. My answer, I can't remember honestly which side.
What's funny is I don't remember which side.
I don't remember the exact argument, but it was after the week 1 game.
Yeah. And what you know what it is? It doesn't matter. Because those are the 3 most important players on the team. My general rule of thumb still stands, and they're following this rule. It's the same thing. You give all Pro Bowl caliber players second contracts. You give Hall of Famers thirds. Everyone else can kick rocks. That's always been my stance, and that's where like the Tyreek one was. When that one went down, I was like, "Ooh, man, are they not even going to follow the if you're a Hall of Famer rule? Let's get a third contract." And it really is just going to be Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes who get multiple deals in the city. Because there were a couple of times when I just never thought that Chris Jones deal was going to come to fruition. I certainly thought if they had gotten to 11 o'clock today and he could have started to talk to other teams, it was going to be a problem. But they made it very clear that he was their most important player and they were going to give him every damn cent that he wanted. I'm nervous about it. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous about it because it's an incredibly important position. And because of what they're paying Chris Jones, the players around him are going to be young or unproven most of the time. And so if that's the case, then they need guys like Felix and Udike Uzama to be a big factor for this defense.
They got to continue drafting, not at the exact same rate, but certainly at a very strong rate of having young players back building the roster. That's how you extend this window out. Nobody's going to disagree with this, I don't think. Chris Jones obviously gives them a way better chance at three-peating next year. And that is most important, I actually think, to them right now.
I told you
right?
should.
And so that's clear to me. This deal, I don't want to say it for sure doesn't happen if they would have lost the Super Bowl, but I definitely think the likelihood of it happening went up drastically once they beat the 49ers back in Vegas in early February. I do think that played a huge role. And you're right. The deal where it gets tricky is in 2026. Not this year when it's 7. Not even in 2025 when it's $34.8 million cap hit. It's when he's 2 years older from now, and it's the third year of the deal, which, by the way, becomes fully guaranteed a year from right now. The third year becomes fully guaranteed for 2026. And it'll be guaranteed starting in 2025 So
because otherwise you could just be like, well, it's a 2-year deal because you could get, but you can't unless you're planning on cutting him a full year in advance. He's going to be here for 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, that was always, go back weeks ago when we were just first discussing this again in the offseason, basically the decision you as a fan and the organization had to make, if you wanted him back, don't doubt what you're getting for the next season or so. But are you okay that in year 3, when you're paying, in this case, now we know the number, $41.1 million, are you okay with him potentially not being a double-digit sack guy or a 6-sack guy at that point? I don't know if he's going to dip, but that if you base it off of what Aaron Donald did, that's what would happen. Now, fortunate for Chris Jones, he's a year younger still than Aaron Donald. And knock on wood, Aaron Donald's missed more games. But does that change as he gets older? That'll be the question. Hell, I would argue, Cody, if he's playing at a high level the next 2 years still, let's say Chris Jones just averages 10 sacks the next 2 years, which I actually think is very plausible. In year 3, they might restructure it again at that point in time. Like, I don't know if we'll actually even, you know what I mean? Like, I could see them reworking it at that point if he's still playing at that level, even though he's older.
Works. If your play dips, they'll ask you to take a cut, and like, in a lot of cases, if you see what the market is, sometimes you will. We'll see how this works with Jones. I mean, again, the deal scares me a little bit, but
I'm throwing these back.
Going for the three-peat and the level of importance a player he is, That's it for me. I would have taken the risk. It scares me, but I would have taken the risk because of the type of player, the level of player that Chris Jones is not easy to find. Finding an interior defensive lineman with his level of talent and his level of skill, it's not easy to find. And I've told you, the three-peat thing means something to me. Go for NFL immortality. You already got the dynasty thing, so you're only one of 6 or 7 of those. Now, go be the only team to ever go for a three-peat. Chris Jones gives you a better chance than
No question. No question he does. And we can later on talk about legacy for Chris Jones because it certainly is going to change what ultimately his entire career is going to look like on top of what is already, I think we both agree, a Hall of Fame career. We'll do that at 11 o'clock. But go back. I wanted to go back a little bit to last offseason. And
look back now at the last time they tried to negotiate a deal.
I remember texts. I remember tweets.
Oh, yeah.
Right before that September game against the Lions. And I certainly, and we all do, remember the photos of Chris Jones flanked to each side by the Katz brothers, his agents, sitting up in that suite as the Chiefs lost the opener. And I remember how many people, understandably so, were furious, were upset, feeling like he cost them the game and all that. Remember that? Even though the defense wasn't the problem in that game, it was the offense. Little did we know the offense would be carried by the defense throughout much of the season. We just didn't know it at the time. But thinking about how people viewed him there, not from a when he retires viewpoint, we'll get to the legacy, but just his agents who were criticized, and on this show at times too, no doubt, they did right by their client. They ultimately, the end result, they got exactly what they wanted.
They got bailed out by Chris Jones, is how I would put it.
Well, I mean, isn't that how
bailed out?
Isn't that how any of this works though? The player, the agent works for the player, but the player's who's earning the money. Right, and the players who is what is allowing you to negotiate. Yeah, if Chris Jones would have come out this season and had a terrible year.
Or had 8 sacks and they lose in the divisional round.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, yeah,
contract's different.
But also, this is why the deal happens, because Chris Jones is one of those very special players in NFL history. He's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. But as much as I know people were annoyed by his agents, they ended up doing right by their client. Though they had a hard line on the number they felt their client was worth and Chris Jones felt he was worth. And a year later, when their client was even a year older, they still got the deal they wanted. And they made everybody happy in their circle because Chris Jones not only got the deal he wanted, he gets to stay on the team, Cody, that's going for a 3rd ring.
Yeah, he came out
3rd straight ring.
Yeah. 3rd straight ring. He already has 3 rings. Not to be forgotten. He's just going for triple. Look, I'll erase the Chris Jones because, there was a lot of viscera from the fan base. And I didn't think, because, the whole situation felt weird. Why are you holding out? There's no benefit. His deal last year was worse than the deal he was already on had he just stayed on the franchise tag. He made less money. So he screwed himself last year. Let's just be honest. He had to pay the fines. He made less money overall, even with the bonuses he got for the AFC title game and the Super Bowl and all that stuff. He made less money than he would have made doing it that way. But he made more on the back end. And I'll be honest, at this point, I don't see any reason to ever bring up this holdout with Chris Jones again unless we're relating it to another player. It all worked out. Yeah, it was real awkward. It was an ultimatum between a couple who was saying, I want to get married, and that guy hadn't bought the ring yet. And it took a while to come to the realization that both parties wanted the same thing. So now the holdout and him between his 2 agents and all the awkwardness, that was going to feel a lot different if Chris Jones' deal didn't get done here. You'd be like, really? Over a couple million? But it does seem kind of silly now. You're like, you guys couldn't have figured out a couple of $1 million last year over this?
But it takes both sides.
I still wouldn't do this, by the way. If I just real quick, from the Katz brother end, I would never take that. I still would not take that line if I were an NFL player. Because I think of all the times I've watched people take that line, it is just as likely to go the route of, I'm trying to think about LaShawn McCoy, than it is to go the route of Chris Jones, where every single thing lines up perfectly to make you the highest paid player. Because again, if one little thing steps off of this track, Chris Jones just gets what he would have gotten maybe last year, and he could have signed for the same amount. It just went perfect. They got lucky, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know you're just throwing out a name. Obviously, you know the difference. We're talking about a running back versus a pass rusher.
Or Le'Veon, that's what I was thinking of anyway, not LaShawn. But
same deal. I mean, running back positional value compared to Chris Jones, who plays maybe the second.
They just hold out more. That's why I mentioned him.
Second or third most important position in football is the position that Chris Jones plays.
Kirk Cousins bet on himself, too. But I'd just say there's less examples of success in that department than there are like success stories.
There are, but also Chris. I mean, when this is a Hall of Famer we're talking about. It's a little bit different here, and ultimately, if you're right, if something would have gone differently, he probably still gets this deal, but it would have been somewhere else in the offseason. The best thing for Chris Jones is he got the deal he wanted, and he gets to stay with the best franchise in football. That's why it's beautiful. That's why he's sending out all these tweets, and he's excited, and he should be. I mean, I can't imagine all of a sudden something you worked. Not that he wasn't making any money before, but he life-changing money times two. You know what I mean? Like, but still, the fact that you work your ass off to get to this spot again, and you were so close to free agency, and you got this massive payday, and we all know deep down this is the team he wanted to play for. Even though you have to make it seem like you truly are willing to go elsewhere, that's how you leverage. And Chris, by the way. Why did it change? Chris Jones ended up with all the leverage, and that's where the Chiefs, for the first time kind of during this era, as we said, it's the first route where you could say that the player kind of got the best of them a little bit based in the negotiations. Now, it's only one of 3 players I think they would ever let that happen, where you can't be, I think we're going to see it play out. You can't be L'Jarius Sneed and say, I want to be the highest paid corner. I think they're going to say, okay, well, we'll go ahead and trade you, because I think that's what's going to happen. Chris Jones, Mahomes, Kelsey, different.
I also think that one of the, looking back to last year, God, you did all of this. And reportedly, remember, the Chiefs were on the table for 27 or 28 million last year for Chris Jones, and he wanted more, probably close to this number now. Who's to say that the number that the Katz brothers got wasn't just because the cap absolutely exploded? And the Chiefs are like, all right, that number makes sense now. What's that, $3 extra million? Sure, Chris. Sounds good to us. Before, maybe that deal wasn't going to make sense just based on where the cap was and where it was headed versus now. And look, we can talk about the other teams later. Because the way I'm watching, the Bills or reportedly the Chargers shape payroll, I'm like, how bad a shape were you going to be in if the cap didn't go up this much? You guys seem buried in it anyway. The Chiefs, every single year, I assume, Gold, will be up against every last quarter of the cap, especially if they keep Sneed, which we can talk about in a minute. That's a whole other part of it. I just think I'll look back at that as a weird fever dream. It'll be like, wasn't that funny? Wasn't that a funny little moment? Versus at the time, Gold, it's so funny how a year changes. And of course, you couldn't know how it was going to end. But at the time, Chris Jones is sitting there between his 2 agents. The Chiefs are losing the first game of the season. I mean, almost simply because he and Travis Kelce are not on the field. Travis can't help it. Chris Jones could have helped it. And then you get through this season in which they're mediocre for a good chunk of the year, and you're like, I mean, Chris Jones took this time off. Was that time, could they have spent that time getting ready or being a better, all these things, only to have them go on the run, win the Super Bowl and all that. It's like, I'll just forgive it. You know what, Chris? It's fine. I don't care.
And, I guess, what he said at the parade, it ended up coming true, right?
I need 3 of those rings, baby. We ain't done yet. We ain't done yet. Kansas City, we will be back here next year. And for those who want Chris Jones gone, I ain't going nowhere, baby. 3P, 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 3P.
And he'll have a chance. He'll have a chance to do that. He isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And the way the contract is structured, it looks like the answer to that is at least 3 years from now. Massive deal for Chris Jones, highest paid defensive tackle in NFL history. We'll talk more about that deal with Nate Taylor here in about 20 minutes or so. Nate Taylor from The Athletic, get his perspective. And we're, again, 40 minutes away from the legal tampering period opening up in the NFL. Could we have another big move by the Chiefs today or tomorrow? There's definitely a possibility.
Wide receiver,
Why
perhaps?
not? Why not?
Well, they could trade for T. Higgins.
That's right,
now,
Drew.
Since Drew's boys says he wants out of town.
Yeah, we'll talk about T. Higgins a little bit later
You were
on.
right about them tagging T. Where you missed the mark is that T. Higgins never wanted to be in Cincy, apparently.
The crazy thing is that they said it was a whole year that they hadn't had talks, but the Bengals were trying to flip, or the T's trying to flip it on the Bengals, where T's agent said, we don't want to negotiate during the season. We want to wait until after, and now they requested a trade. So the whole thing has been poorly handled, I think, from both parties. You could say that. But yeah, look, you need to give us more than Sneed. You can give us your first-round pick. You can give us something else
First-round
for
pick?
T. Higgins.
If I'm Cincinnati, that asking price is double just for Kansas City. There's no way they're trading T. Higgins to the Chiefs.
Sneed,
The asking price is a second for him.
Trent
It's a first
McDuffie,
for you.
Trent
Leo
McDuffie.
Chanel.
Okay. I mean, you can have Chanel if that's what it takes to get that.
For
Trent McDuffie, are
for
you
a
out of your damn mind?
1,000-yard receiver?
You can run us Joe Tooney or Trey Smith as well.
We'll talk about Trey Smith later on in the show.
Especially
might
now
be
that I see what Landon Dickerson just got.
Got a big
for
deal.
a guard.
Mm-hmm.
Got 4 years and $84 million. $50 million guaranteed for guard.
Yeah, we'll talk about T. Higgins. We'll talk about Jerry Jeudy, who did actually get traded over the weekend. Plus, in 10 minutes, what does this Chris Jones deal mean for L'Jarius Sneed? Because now all eyes are on that situation now that Chris Jones is taken care of. Does the timeline change? That's all coming up in 10 minutes or so. Over the weekend, though, a little college hoops. And what was the advice you gave everybody? And you I think it wasn't a Goldilocks. I don't know what we call yours.
I've been winning a lot
tap in or something. I don't know.
I've been winning a lot of money on UMKC basketball.
What happened?
And while I did not bet the line for UMKC because I didn't like the number, I did suggest people bet UMKC to win the Summer
I think
League
quote
tournament.
was, they are the best bet in college basketball.
Which was true. Leading up to that moment. It absolutely was true. They ripped my heart out, man. Do you want me to say it? UMKC they hurt me. I, once again, for like the second time only in my lifetime, could buy into UMKC having a chance to making the NCAA tournament. In the first round, they get Denver, a team they kicked their ass.
They did.
A week ago, wrecked Denver, destroyed him, held down the leading scorer in the country to nothing.
Yeah, you underestimate the Pioneers, man, and this is what happens.
They had a 12-point halftime lead. They had multiple double-digit leads in the second half, and what do they do instead? They blow it. They blew it. It hurt, man. I'm not kidding. It hurt. It hurt to see that happen. I was ready to just call in sick for Wednesday, drive out to Sioux Falls on Tuesday, watch them in the championship game, and they couldn't even get to the first damn round.
You were looking ahead past Denver, man.
To Denver. That's the team's job.
Quarterfinal, you're just looking ahead. You were already booking Airbnbs for the championship game.
I was looking at prices for them.
That's what happens, man. This is what happens. Yeah.
How many points did that guy end up scoring, by the way?
He had a great second half.
All I got to say is I actually was rooting for the Roos as well. I have two family members that went there. I also had a 7-leg
co-host.
I had a co-host. I had a 7-leg parlay, and UMKC was the last leg.
No.
Yes.
Like the last watched leg
No,
too?
no,
Okay.
no.
Because that's always
Santa
the
Clara was
devastating part.
playing later on.
Okay.
Let's just say I didn't lose this much. The parlay would have paid out $1,100. So yes,
That sucks.
So that was a painful. That was I feel your pain on the Roos losing to Denver. Yes. Look at this way. You saved yourself some money and time driving up to South Dakota. That's what you got to tell yourself now.
Yes, but I wanted it. I wanted the reason to
They've
go.
never won a conference tournament game in the Summit League. I mean, that's
Oh, they haven't even won a game in the tournament before?
no.
Left
Left out that fact on Friday.
Not only had they not made the
Talking about.
tournament, but they have. Oh man,
That's why they were such high odds to win the Summit League. You'd be like the number 2 seed. Why are they double the odds as the number 3 seed, or septuple the odds as the 1 seed? That's because they haven't had much success in the Summit League tournament. And I bought in. Freshman of the year, coach of the year, 6th man of the year. They had the best defense in the Summit League.
What are your feelings on Mincy now?
I was sold. Dude, I don't know. He got him to the number 2 seed.
He's out now. He's already out. All I gotta say,
better than the last 3 coaches combined is Mincy's. I'll give him that. He's much better than the coaches they had. I'll give him plenty of time to figure this thing out. I'm just disappointed in their performance.
If you end up getting the adjunct professor position, I'm telling you, you want to really support the Roos, put the money towards NIL, man. Put the money towards NIL. That's what you want to do.
You can claim that that's the reason why they weren't good enough to beat the Pioneers.
Need more NIL money.
That's right.
I need some of you local business owners to come along with me. A pledge donation. You know, like we all agree to give a certain
Cody's
amount.
willing to match any donation.
Up to my stipend.
$4,200.
Up to my stipend amount. That's the most I can go, you know? God. Dude, it hurt. I can't believe you had a parlay.
That was
too.
bad. Yeah.
They blew a 12-point halftime lead.
Look at this way. Denver cost me when the week before, and then they cost me this one when I was on the opposite
just
side.
burning you 2
Screw
different
Denver.
Yeah,
Screw that.
actually, never bet
Screw
anywhere
the
near that
Pioneers.
team again.
That's the problem. All right, coming up next, what does the Chris Jones extension mean for L'Jarius Sneed? And Nate Taylor will give us that answer next.
You're listening to Cody and Gold. Follow the show on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. 610 Sports Radio.
Pass to Jalen Rose. Dish to Kevin Garnett. Or take it to the rim yourself for a dunk. Play BetMGM's Fast Break free-to-play game daily and get a B-ball reward if you score a basket. Simply access the Fast Break game in your BetMGM promotion section. Play the game and see if you win. Your prizes could include bonus bets or boost tokens for NBA and college basketball bets. bets. There are endless ways to enjoy hoops with BetMGM. And the action on the court just got even more exciting with this daily chance to dish and swish. Go to your account today and every day throughout the season for the Fast Break free-to-play game. Take your shot and see if you score. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. Existing customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Spring is in the air, and that means one thing. Dandelions are coming. Don't let those annoying yellow weeds invade your lawn again. This year, trust your lawn to Ryan Lawn and Tree. This is Larry Ryan. No other lawn care company delivers the results that Ryan Lawn and Tree delivers. More than just providing a beautiful dandelion-free lawn. Your trusted pros in the clean red trucks make sure your entire landscape is healthy, strong, and ready to look great no matter what nature throws at it. And unlike the other guys, the pros at Ryan Lawn and Tree are employee owners, full-time professionals going above and beyond every day with 5-star customer service. Call us or click RyanLawn.com today. And as a new customer, you'll save 50% on your first lawn application. Enjoy a worry-free, effort-free, dandelion-free lawn this year with Ryan Lawn and Tree.
Do you want to skip your car payment this month? How about for 6 months? I'm Jeff Davis, owner of Volkswagen Lease Summit. We're offering payment relief.
Buy a new car at Volkswagen Lease Summit and get no payments for up to 6 months. That's right, no payments for up to 6 months. Or we have low leases starting at $239 a month and rates as low as 0% for 60 months.
Get payment relief today at Volkswagen Lease Summit. Visit VWLeaseSummit.com.
Financing through VCI on approved credit. Call 816-841-7383 for details.
If you're a pro and flooring is your game, we'll help you win it. Because at LL Flooring, all we do is floors. You want decor?
Strike.
You want plumbing?
You're out.
LL Flooring has been helping pros knock it out of the park for over 30 years. Visit one of our 400 nationwide warehouses for one-on-one service, extensive inventory, and exclusive pro pricing.
All right.
Get the pro treatment you deserve. Enroll today, online or in-store. LL Flooring, every step covered.
This March, Wendy's has some amazing deals on their hamburgers made with fresh, never frozen beef.
Like a juicy Dave's single for $1 and a fresh $2 Dave's double with in-app offer.
It's such a good deal, we wrote a little ditty about it. Get it for $1. Dave's single, order in the app. Dave's single, get it for $1. Choose wisely, choose Wendy's, official hamburger March Madness.
Limited time offer. Participating U.S. Wendy's. See offer details and redeem at Wendy's app. Account registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S. and Alaska.
Not all water heaters are made equally. Some can be temperamental. Some can be unreliable and don't even think about what happens if you have neighbors downstairs.
Why is it raining inside my apartment?
Not with a Navien tankless water heater. You'll never run out of hot water. You only heat water when you need it, saving you tons in utility costs. Navien tankless water heaters. Visit tanklessmadesimple.com to learn more.
Is switching your wireless service to Total by Verizon easy?
Totalmente.
And you get unlimited 5G data, $25 a line for 4 lines on the unlimited plan, at an amazing price, with no contracts. Should you switch to Total by Verizon? Definitely.
Totalmente.
Find a store or switch suavemente at totalbyverizon.com. Monthly rate when you activate without a pay plus taxes and fees. Discount begins the month after you enroll. Additional terms apply. See website for data management practices.
Get the one and done you want for your dog's monthly protection. NexGard Plus, afoxolaner, moxidectin, and pyrantel chewable tablets. Protects against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms. All in one delicious, beef-flavored soft chew. Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting a preventive. Ask your vet about NexGard Plus chews.
Planning for spring at Lowe's means big savings on outdoor power equipment, and Lowe's knows nothing feels better than free. Buy one select Ego string trimmer, leaf blower, or mower kit. Get one select 56-volt battery free. That's up to a $299 value. Power through spring with Ego, the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 4/3 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Febreze. Fabric Talk. Hey, it's me, your couch. Today's my favorite day of the week. Febreze Fabric Spray Day. The occasional deep cleans are nice, but in between, you know I'm needing a refresh. Ooh, here she comes with the Febreze Fabric Spray. Oh yeah, spritz them armrests. Don't be shy. Nothing like a good spray down to get me smelling so fresh and clean. Don't forget my back. Nice. Febreze Fabric Spray. It's just that easy. Now we can both breathe happy. Febreze. La 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 la.
Royals fans, are you ready for opening day? In one of the most anticipated seasons in team history, don't miss a second of the action with every game live on the free Odyssey app with 610 Sports Radio. Catch Fern before and after every game. Plus, join Denny, Ryan, Jake, and Stu all season long on your home for Royals baseball in Kansas City. 610 Sports Radio and the Odyssey app. Download it today. AUDACY. Live games available for fans and market only.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Brought to you by Gomer's. 5 locations in the KC Metro or shop online at gomers.com. Gomer's has all you need to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Voted KC's #1 liquor store, we strive to be the best in price, selection, and service. With 5 locations in the KC Metro or shop online at gomers.com.
NFL free agency about to officially get underway. According to Jordan Schultz, though, in the last couple of minutes, the Colts and their star wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr. have agreed to a 3-year deal worth up to $71.5 million, $46 million guaranteed. That's Jordan Schultz over at Bleacher Report. And look, the franchise tagged him with the intention of getting the deal done, and there you go. The Colts get the deal done. You got Anthony Richardson, a quarterback going into a second year. You want to make sure he's got one of his top weapons hanging around, and that's a really good deal. You know, you and I
like
joked last week
Colts.
and went back and forth on where we put him. You know, top 25 or whatever wide receiver in the league. That's top 25 wide receiver money in the league, but it's not a deal that you look at and say, oh my gosh, this is going to be a terrible deal for either side. I think this is a really good deal for Michael Pittman. If he would have got the free agency, is his deal much bigger than that? I don't know.
Bourne got 3 for 33, and he is much less of a player than that. So not crazy.
So that's one wide receiver. Not that he was on the market. He was tagged. He wasn't ever going to be available. But just to give you an idea of what some of the deals are, we'll keep an eye on that throughout the show. The legal tampering period begins in a half hour. Nate Taylor from The Athletic joining us in about 10 minutes or so. Chris Jones gets his deal. L'Jarius Sneed, all eyes go to him now. And what are they going to do? We know he's tagged, $19.8 million. Does the timeline change now that we know what the Chris Jones deal is? Because I think initial reaction before we got the details on the Jones deal for me was, okay, well, if the deal is that big, they may have to get the Sneed trade done earlier so they have flexibility in free agency. I don't feel that way as much because it's only a $7.3 million cap hit in year 1 for Chris Jones.
They're still technically, $5 or $6 million over the cap now, but we know, no restructures.
We know they can convert or restructure multiple players. If there's someone they want to go get, they can do that. And they have to make some other moves before Wednesday anyway to make the Chris Jones deal work. Did this change anything for you on the Sneed front? I think we tied the two together always. And so the minute the Chris Jones deal got done, I think that also once again signified that Sneed's getting traded, whether it's in the next 2 days or a week out of the draft.
I just think they made their commitment. Like the Chiefs have always, Drew, earlier you were talking about T. Higgins. And well, the report is the Bengals haven't talked to T. Higgins about a long-term contract in a whole year. You know why? You know who I bet they've had a long-term contract conversation with at least once? Jamar Chase. I bet they've talked to him. Multiple times, Gold, they put L'Jarius Sneed on the back burner to get the Chris Jones deal done. All last offseason, the beginning part of this offseason, they tagged Sneed to buy themselves some time. I don't think it changes anything. I always thought Sneed was going to get traded, and I still think Sneed is going to get traded. The only difference with this deal is that it buys them the cap space, but I don't think they bought themselves the cap space for him. Unfortunately for Sneed, I don't think that that's why they bought themselves that room. Now, if they have to, just like the Chris Jones deal, if there's no deal to be had in a trade department versus just getting Chris Jones done, and they've got to sit on Sneed's salary cap number, then they can because of the Chris Jones deal. I don't think that they'll just rush to a deal because they can't afford it. But if you have to hold on to Sneed at the franchise tag, then these other plans, this let's pay a free agent left tackle, or let's pay a free agent defensive lineman, or let's pay a free agent wide receiver, those get a lot harder if you got to pay Sneed $20 million on the franchise tag.
They get harder, but let's say they sign a wide receiver, you pick whoever you want, and based the same way they structured Chris Jones' deal where it's very little in year one, there's nothing that says they wouldn't do that same thing in year one for one of these wide receivers. I think if there's truly somebody that, throw out a name, Gabe Davis, Darnell Mooney, whatever, if that's a player that they really have targeted and they want, to me, they will either finagle it temporarily or, maybe there is a need to trade Sneed earlier. I just think if you want to get the best offer for Sneed as well, because that's part of the equation here, obviously.
Of course it is.
Are you better off waiting after the first wave and the corner market shrinks up and there's a little more desperation? Let's say the Lions strike out and they don't sign a free agent corner, and there's not going to be a free agent corner as good as Sneed anyway. But let's say there's not an option that they can get because somebody else signed him. All of a sudden, if you're the Lions, is your offer a little bit better 2 weeks before the draft because you know you didn't get anybody in free agency? That's the back and forth that they have to balance, I think, the Chiefs. If you're wondering, Sneed, you can read into all the tweets you want again if you would like. His latest tweet from 5 minutes ago.
5 minutes ago.
It just says, respect it, with an exclamation point.
That could be about a lot of things.
I think he's getting traded anyway, but my only question on the trade is it happening
24 minutes before legal tampering?
That's
now
right.
He can't be tampered with. He's franchise tagged.
Look, I think he's getting traded. My only question is the timeline. If the Chiefs are taking the approach that, no, we need to free up space now, or no, let's hold out, we think we can get a better deal, we'll wait till closer to the draft. It's not going to hinder what we want to do in free agency.
I think it makes more sense from where the Chiefs are cap-wise and where other teams are too to just make the move. Because if you're the acquiring team on Sneed, unless Sneed's getting a long-term deal with Kansas City, which I guess I'd still be surprised by, and we can ask Nate Taylor here in a couple of minutes, unless they're getting a deal done, a long-term deal done with him, I don't really see the logic in holding on to that cap number. I think you want to shed it as fast as possible. And I don't think that the number is going to really change much on what the compensation is for Sneed now versus later. And because the acquiring team gets to save a lot more money by signing Sneed, because they're going to give him an extension. Their year one cap hit on Sneed is going to make him affordable for most teams. More affordable than the free agent market, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only reason why I bring up waiting is it's just if you think that the market shrinks.
Sure.
And that there's the options out there become small. And
it's like the Justin Fields situation where his market has shrunk, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all of a sudden, if Sneed is your best available option, and he already is, and then also you missed out on a free agent corner, are you willing to up the offer? And that's I don't know the answer to that, but that would be the only reason why waiting till closer to the draft makes any sense. Otherwise, you pull the trigger and the next day or two on a trade to actually make it happen, free up some space, go ahead and be done with it and move on.
Makes the most sense that way. But I guess there was at some point, and I had asked you, I'd said, all right, every day, I said Saturday, then Sunday, then what if, like I was asking you, how much does your confidence level decrease on Chris Jones? You're like, well, a little bit every day. And then I had said, if we get to Monday at 11, you're like, well, then.
I think I said it'd be 20% if he was still didn't have a deal done today. We obviously got a deal done Saturday.
Yeah, so you didn't have to. Yeah. You didn't even get below 50% at any one point because they wanted to get this done. My thing with Sneed has always been the same thing. They have never shown any urgency with him. And I think they know what we know, which is 2 years from now, Gold, there's going to be a different corner they pay. His name is Trent McDuffie. He's one of the best corners in football, and they're going to pay him, which means they're not also going to pay Sneed.
All right, let's go out to the hotline and welcome in our Chiefs insider from The Athletic, Nate Taylor. I know today's going to be a busy day and a busy couple of days. Let's just start with Chris Jones and the deal. Did you expect this to happen this go-around? Because we heard a lot of the same type of optimism back in August, except this time around, even though he's a year older, they got it done.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, fellas, as always. Yes, looking forward to a chaotic day, I would say, here in the NFL. As it regards to Chris, I did think a deal was going to get done because me and Diana Rossini, my colleague from The Athletic, we wrote a piece at the Combine saying that the Chiefs felt that they had, a growing sense of optimism that they were going to get a deal done. And obviously there's some details in a news story that I wrote for this morning that sort of details, sort of the first interaction that really matters between the Katz brothers, Jason and Michael, the agents for Chris Jones, and obviously Andy Reid and Brett Beach, the dinner that they had in downtown Indianapolis during the Combine. So because there were teams lining up, and we can get into that here in a minute, the Chiefs knew it is much better to sign Chris Jones than to try to replace him, even at the age of 29 going into 30, and even considering the fact that he, won the negotiation. I know this is, strange to say because it so rarely happens, but one of the things I wanted to write, fellas, is it is extremely rare for a team to offer you an extension, right? And you tell your employer, nah, that's not good enough for me. And then you stay healthy the next season, you play extremely well, and then you prove your value in front of everybody in the league during the postseason, and you help your team win the Super Bowl. So even though the negotiations took over a year, even though there was a lot of twists and turns that I didn't necessarily see coming, and I wouldn't necessarily advise the Katz brothers on doing, they still win because Chris Jones is that rare athlete who can gamble on himself and come out victorious. And now he's the second highest paid defensive player in the league. And it's one of the first, I think it's the first time since I've covered the Chiefs where Clark Hunt has given this much to a player not named Patrick Mahomes on a contract extension or a new deal entirely. So, I reported last year, and it was accurate all the way through, that, look, he wanted a deal that was $30 million in terms of annual average salary. And now he's going to make $31.75, at least we assume, for the next 2 to 3 years. Obviously, I think the fourth and the fifth year of that deal is mostly funny money. Mostly you got to structure it a certain way. But the Chiefs gave a lot of concession to bring him back. And so in the grand picture of this, he's irreplaceable. And for that reason, he actually won the negotiation after a year-long battle.
Is some of the reason why he won the negotiation, obviously he played really well, because I said the same thing you did, Nate, which is, I don't think if you're another player, you should take this Chris Jones thing as, well, I'll just do that and it'll work out for me. Because I think 8 or 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work out for the player. But did the cap going up squeeze those last couple of million to the Chiefs that they're like, you know what, screw it?
I think that helps. I think the fact that Chris, played so well in the postseason and obviously helped the team win back-to-back Super Bowls helps. The idea that, everybody on the team in the organization wants to give a fair shot to go for a three-peat, right? It's going to be incredibly difficult. And we need to remind the listeners and fans from now until, however long the season goes, but look, nobody's ever done it. But the Chiefs at least have that rare chance to try. And so they're going to give it their best effort. And in order to do that, you need Chris Jones. I think the last part about this, fellas, is people will say, well, look, he's going into being 30, and L'Jarius Sneed is younger, and, he was just as good last year. And look, that's fine. There's no one who can generate a consistent pass rush in a red uniform more than him. So because he can disrupt so much of the opposing offense, and when I always think about what he did last year, it's the fact that Lamar Jackson was terrified of this man throughout much of the AFC Championship game, and that disrupted the entire rhythm of the Baltimore Ravens offense. So, yes, the salary cap going up definitely helps. The fact that the NFL is only going to print more money based on these new TV deals, great, of course. That's easily than done. But when it comes to his age, we have to remind ourselves, the dude missed OTAs, mandatory minicamp, training camp, preseason, week 1, came in week 2 and was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm one of the best defensive players in the league. So he has done a great job keeping his body in shape, which can give the Chiefs confidence that, hey, he's going to still be a very productive player in years 31, years 32, maybe even so more productive than Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald is sort of tapered off. But at the same time, I do get the sense that Chris Jones, for a lot of this, has been able to sort of stave off what has normally been sort of the curve of how a player, rises and falls in terms of their decline. So look, if he can come back from week 1 saying, oh, I'm just asking a raise, and then really kind of prove his point and, just making life a living hell for Trevor Lawrence, then yeah, it makes total sense to think that he can still play at a very high level into his early 30s.
Nate, what about Sneed now? I mean, that's where the attention goes, right? Free agency is going to open up here soon, but still, that's the player. On the flip side, while you guys were reporting all the optimism on the side of Chris Jones. On the Sneed side, it seems like most of the momentum there is in the expectation that he's going to get traded. Is that more likely now that this Chris Jones deal is done, or does it change in the opposite way for you?
Say that one more time, fellas, because I think I have some information that I can give you right now.
Yeah, talking about L'Jarius Sneed and the likelihood that a trade happens.
Okay, that is going to happen. But I can tell you right now, and this just came down, Chris Jones has just passed his physical, and he is indeed signing his contract today. So I do want to get that out there.
There we go.
Okay.
And I believe I'm the first to report that. Who knows? I don't know if it's out there on Twitter yet.
That's why we have you on, man.
Yeah. I just got confirmation of that. So, again, he passed his physical. The contract is getting signed today. He might have a press conference of some sort either tomorrow or Wednesday. It kind of depends, of course, with the whole tampering period and when does free agency start and all that. But with everything that's gone on so far, they have to trade L'Jarius Sneed. It is so unfortunate. I also want to remind people of this, too. Like, I feel bad for L'Jarius because he did nothing wrong. He played his rookie contract to a T how you ask a player when they come into the league, right? Hey, be a contributor as a rookie. Bingo. Hey, be a starter and, like, get a little bit better. Bingo. All of a sudden, now you're like, quote-unquote, a leader. You're our most experienced cornerback. And, oh, by the way, can you do, like, the whole shutdown corner situation? And he's like, sure, I'll do that, to the point that he gets franchise tagged and then gets traded. I mean, it's just unfortunate. If Chris Jones doesn't exist or isn't as impactful as a player, then, yeah, it would have been a situation where he could have had a chance to get an extension. I know you guys have talked about Trent McDuffie. He sort of fits into the equation too, just because McDuffie is excellent. I mean, he's like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's so good. He just said, "Hey, Brandon Ayuk, cool. Hey, Deebo Samuel, fine." He shut down Calvin Ridley in week 2, and I just remember thinking, "Oh, they might be good this year if they got Trent McDuffie, Jerry Sneed, and Chris Jones. They might be good." So. It's unfortunate. There's like 6 teams. I think the Colts are involved. The Falcons could be involved, especially if they go get Kirk Cousins. So keep that in mind later today if Kirk Cousins indeed agrees to join the Atlanta Falcons, which, again, is hilarious because I cannot think of a single quarterback who is the antithesis of hot Atlanta. Anyway, the Vikings are eligible as well. And I think the Detroit Lions have the most to potentially give the Chiefs in terms of multiple draft picks, right? Not necessarily the highest pick, but they could give maybe 2, maybe even 3 picks with a low pick sort of as a sweetener there at the end if they want to get really serious about obviously contending further in the NFC. So with all that said, I just think it's crazy that the Chiefs drafted and developed a player, right? That is what is asked of you to be a contending team. L'Jarius Sneed has never gotten in trouble. He's only gotten better. He is a quiet assassin on the field, and all he wants is to be paid what he's worth. And it's for whatever reason, because these collective bargaining agreements, allow the team to weaponize the franchise tag, he won't be on the team next year.
Something that Cody and I were discussing with Sneed is the timeline on a trade. We know he's got the $19.8 million tag right now. That goes against the cap once the league year starts up. Do you need to clear that out early so the Chiefs can make moves? Is that going to hinder them? Or are they willing, do you think, to wait closer to the draft and maybe the corner market shrinks and they're able to get more value in compensation?
I think to a degree that's probably the case, right? I know there's multiple ways of doing that, but ultimately, because of the way the salary cap has really jumped this year and the fact that you can sort of anticipate, more growth, maybe not to the same degree as this past season, but you can anticipate growth in years 2024, 2025, 2026. I do think that's going to impact how the team can sort of maneuver, especially because you have so many young players on the roster, right? So even with trying to go out and maybe get a couple guys in free agency, some noteworthy players, I do get the sense that, like, hopefully with the money going up, all it should do is benefit the Chiefs.
When you look at the rest of free agency, Nate, before we let you go, all right, so we know maybe trade for Sneed. They just gave Chris Jones the money. League year starts in 10 minutes. if there was going to be a name that came off the board quick for KC, do you think it'll be on offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver? If they're day one buying, who is it?
I kind of want to say receiver, but it's not the receiver people think.
You think it's like Darnell Mooney? Yeah.
I mean,
or that level?
Well, Curtis Samuel, you know?
I mean.
Okay, so they're trading back for Tyreek then, is that?
I mean, there's only so much I can say. I have a general idea of where I think things are heading,
okay,
ladies and gentlemen. A receiver will be contacted today. I can assure you that. I don't want to say which one.
What's his name rhyme with?
I think a receiver will be contacted today, and I get the sense too that a couple tackles will be talked to at some point today. Now, look, I don't know if anybody's going to agree to anything, but they understand that, like, okay, if you got Chris Dunn, mission accomplished. If you know you got to trade L'Jarius Sneed to create more cap space and to get more picks back, we anticipate that's going to happen. Next on the list is probably shoring up the left tackle position, whether that's Donovan Smith or someone else who just was released by the Dallas Cowboys, or acquiring a free agent receiver and then doubling down on the position and drafting another receiver with a high pick, right? First, second, maybe third round pick, depending on how it plays out in the draft. So those are the four major priorities. They've accomplished the first one, obviously, and we know that number two is kind of in the process of happening. Again, I think the moment Kirk Cousins tells us he's moving from Minneapolis to hot Atlanta, I think we'll get a sense of where L'Jarius Sneed will play next in his career.
Just to lean into the Atlanta stuff, should they just take him straight to a strip club? He can do it from Magic City, Kirk Cousins press conference.
Oh, look, man, bring the wife, get you some wings, and like ingratiate yourself to the locals. All right, like, look, we're not asking you to be Mike Vick. We're not even asking you to be Matt Ryan. What we are asking you to be is better than Desmond Renner, and that's all Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins doesn't have to say it, but every quote needs to be with, "And I'm better than Desmond Renner." That's where it needs to go. And for the Vikings, would you trade for Justin Fields if Kirk Cousins leaves? Because if you don't,
the price has gotten low enough, I would.
Yeah, and like we never really see interdivisional trades, but like, come on, like, don't sign Sam Darnold. That's boring as hell. And don't draft J.J. McCarthy. Don't put that on him. He'll be the worst quarterback in the division. So go get Justin Fields. But again, I think Kirk Cousins is probably headed to Atlanta, and that could, that could gas up the Vikings to maybe go get L'Jarius Sneed. And if that happens, then I do think there's a real three-team, battle to the death between the Falcons, the Lions, and obviously the Lions. There's so many teams: Falcons, Lions,
Colts, right? No,
I mean, maybe Colts. But I think the Lions, the Vikings, and the Falcons are usually the top three teams right now.
Nate Taylor from The Athletic, our Chiefs insider. Appreciate the insight, and it's going to be a busy couple days.
Yes, it will be. I'm literally all over the place, guys. So thank you so much for having me on, and hopefully I sounded reasonable because there's just so much going on.
Great stuff. Absolutely. Nate Taylor from The Athletic, and while he was on with us, he got the news that Chris Jones did pass his physical, signing his 5-year contract with the Chiefs. So there's no holdup or anything there. That's going to happen. And then we're about 5 minutes away from the legal tampering period opening up. When we come back, we'll talk about that. Heck, there could even be some surprises right at the beginning of the 11 o'clock hour. And what does the Chris Jones deal mean for his legacy long-term in Chiefs franchise history? We'll talk about that coming up here on Cody and Gold.
You're listening to Cody and Gold on your home for Royals baseball, 610 Sports Radio and the Odyssey app.
Are you ready to make a difference in the lives of children battling cancer? Join us in supporting Braden's Hope for Childhood Cancer and Jersey Mike's 14th annual Month of Giving. Grab a sub from all area Kansas City, Topeka, and Lawrence locations on Monday evenings from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. 15% of all sales will go back to Braden's Hope. You can also make a donation in-store or through the app all month long. Donate today and join the mission to conquer childhood cancer with Braden's Hope and Jersey Mike's. FanDuel's putting the ball in your court for the rest of the NBA season. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. You can bet on the NBA with a wide range of bet types, including quick bets, live same-game parlays, player props, in-game betting, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/610Bob. That's FanDuel.com/610Bob and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA and of 610 Sports Radio. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
The Chiefs, the Royals, and this community all rise together no matter what comes our way. We've worked, battled, and overcome together.
They've done it! The Royals are World Series champions!
Kansas City wins the game! Champions of Super Bowl 58!
Now we can keep it going. Vote yes on question 1 to keep the Chiefs and Royals in Jackson County with a better deal. Over $1 billion in private investment with real benefits for every community. Growing small businesses, creating good-paying jobs with no new taxes. Vote yes on question 1 on April 2nd to keep the Chiefs and Royals here in Jackson County. Let's keep it going. Paid for by the committee to keep the Chiefs and Royals in Jackson County. Whitney Beaver, Treasurer.
Obviously, the weather's starting to warm up, which means you start seeing the issues in your parking lot. That's where you need my friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete, celebrating 30 years of helping people in the Kansas City area with these projects. They're one contractor, all things parking lot. Look, you call Gann for a streamlined project. They will handle it from the very beginning to the end. So you're like, oh, man, I got to get this thing done, and I don't want to call like 8 different people. You don't have to. They'll take care of the curbside. They'll take care of uneven sidewalks, potholes, the striping issues that could be there. Anything you need related to your parking lot, they will take care of it all the way down to the drainage system and the asphalt itself. So if you have a parking lot that needs that kind of attention, and trust me, you know when you do, because you see all these potholes that have been filling up, all this issues of being in there. Don't let the first impression that your client has of your business be a bad one, honestly, because when those maintenance decisions go out of the way, it seems like maybe you're not taking care of them the way that they should be. And when you're working with a company for concrete and asphalt needs, why not one that has been serving the Kansas City area for 30 years? Go to GANNasphalt.com and tell them that Cody sent you.
Hey guys, Beat Up here from Fesco in the Morning. You're feeling discouraged on your current weight loss journey? Well, it's time to get that dad bod in shape. Jump on the Beat Up Summer Shape Up. Spring break might be the perfect time to break up those ineffective weight loss strategies that could be holding you back. Slim for Life wants to help. Their dedicated team of weight loss coaches and medical professionals will guide you every step of the way. I hooked up with my girl Leanne at the 119th and Metcalf location, and I've lost almost 100 pounds in just 8 months. Yes, it's that easy, and they're with you every step of the way, guaranteeing your success and getting to your goal quickly. All you have to do is take that first step. Call today. Book that free consultation. Let them know that you heard it from Beat Up. You can lose up to 29 pounds for only $29 in 6 weeks. Plus, you can add those semaglutide medications to any plan for $99 for 4 weeks. 833-SLIM today. That is the number you need to call. 833-754-6863 Or hit them online at slim4life.com. All services included, exclusive of products. So what are you waiting for? It's time to be happy and healthy in 2024. Make the call. Tell them B-Dub sent you.
Barbecue put Kansas City on the map, and Smokehouse Barbecue has been serving up the best barbecue in Kansas City for over 35 years. Hey, it's Bob Fesco. When my family and I want delicious baby back ribs, burnt ends, and hickory pit beans, we head to Smokehouse Barbecue. Of course, no trip to Smokehouse is complete without their Cajun chicken wings, which are the best wings on the planet. Visit them in Independence, Zona Rosa, or Gladstone, or at SmokehouseBBQ.com. For over 35 years, locally owned and family operated, it's Smokehouse Barbecue.
When people have a craving to explore new and traditional Asian cuisines, they head to P.F. Chang's, where scratch-made dishes come from the 2,000-year-old tradition of wok cooking. P.F. Chang's wanted to explore new possibilities for their website. They turned to AmericanEagle.com. AmericanEagle.com re-architected P.F. Chang's website, integrating multiple third-party systems to create a unified digital experience. The results? Improved page speed and performance, personalized content based on users' location, intuitive online ordering, an increase in organic search visibility, and a 40% increase in new users. For scratch-made Asian cuisine, visit your local P.F. Chang's or go to pfchangs.com for website design, development, digital marketing, and hosting that produce efficiency, revenue, and results. Visit AmericanEagle.com. P.F. Chang's and AmericanEagle.com. Another example of the best businesses in the world. Turning to the best in the business for websites, go to AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW1. That's 877-WEB-NOW1.
Do you have an invention idea but don't know what to do next? Call InventHelp today. We have representatives nationwide who will explain the InventHelp process step by step. Over 10,000 patents have been secured through InventHelp's patent referral services. The InventHelp databank includes thousands of companies who have agreed to review new ideas. We've been helping inventors since 1984. Let's help you next. Get started today.
Call 1-800-217-4380. That's 1-800-217-4380. Again, 1-800-217-4380.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Subscribe to the 610 Sports KC YouTube page for exclusive video content from Cody and Gold on your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs and your home for Royals baseball. 610 Sports Radio. KCSP Kansas City. WDAF HD2 Liberty. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
11 o'clock hour on Cody and Gold. As of 2 minutes ago, teams can now legally start talking with agents / players, so we could start seeing some deals happening anytime now. Whether it's the Chiefs, I don't know, but I do for a few people. Normally I don't because it drives me crazy. Today's one of those days where you got the alerts on just in case. Yeah, just in case. We all know earlier today it was the deal with Michael Pittman and the Colts. He was already on their team, but still they worked out a new 3-year deal. Also, Diana Rossini now reporting the Eagles and Texans are expected to have strong interest in signing running back Saquon Barkley. So these are the type of things throughout the show today we'll keep you updated on. We know the Chiefs did take care of their own business, though, over the weekend with Chris Jones signing that 5-year extension, really a 3-year deal, but 5-year extension for record-setting dollars, giving Chris Jones the deal he was searching for this time last year, as a matter of fact. So what does it mean for his legacy? I think that's going to be interesting in how people will view him at the end of his career, because he's already a Hall of Famer. I mean, he could retire tomorrow. You get 3 rings. You're part of a dynasty. You've been an all-pro. You've put together a 15.5 sack season, multiple double-digit sack seasons. You're one of the key pieces to the dynasty. You're a Hall of Famer. What he can do over the next couple years is make himself a first ballot Hall of Famer. And can he now do it all in one place? Yes, he's going to at least be here for 3 particular seasons. And that's why I think legacy just in Kansas City, the debate at the end of his career is going to be between him and one other player on the defensive side of the ball. And that'll be the late, great Derek Thomas. That's where he is now going to have a chance to put himself, because he's going to play 95%, if not all, of his career in a Chiefs uniform, which is so rare in the NFL. And that's where he's at.
I think he could go down So, one, just being this long in Kansas City, because the way the NFL works, Gold, he's going to go down as one of the greatest Chiefs of all time.
Of course. I would argue he's already there.
Yeah, probably one of the 10 best already? I mean, think about how little
Part of
franchise
a dynasty,
success
man.
they had,
You're
dude.
part of a dynasty.
Part of a dynasty and a dominant player inside that dynasty. He's not just some other dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's not, and this is not, you know what? I'm not even going to mention that person's name.
Who was the name you were thinking of?
I was just like,
oh, boy.
They don't need to unfairly be tossed under the bus for no reason.
Okay.
Whatever. The point is, not just some random player who is a part of the dynasty. They're Chris Jones. I think if he continues this level of play for the next 3 years, he's going to go down as the single greatest defensive player in Chiefs history. And I think this is one of the rare cases where there's no argument. When I say he's going to go down as the greatest player in Chiefs history, I'm only talking about Derek Thomas. I'm not giving you another player or players he would be in competition with. I'm telling you he has a chance to pass Derek Thomas as the most dominant player. And the playoffs is the big reason why. Derek Thomas has more sacks. He was probably a more dominant regular season player in his time in Kansas City so far. He was a sack absolute machine. But Derek Thomas in 10 postseason games never had a single sack and has no rings. Chris Jones has 3 rings and has success. That's why. That's why he could pass the great Derek Thomas.
This goes back to a discussion you and I had the week before the Super Bowl and where this defense stacked up historically. And I do think this matters, and some people will push back and say you can't compare the 90s to now, but I actually think it can be part of the argument for when his career is done and why he ends up being the best defensive player in Chiefs history. And that is in 2024, and in this entire time frame when Chris Jones has been in the league, the offense has never been more skewed towards the league has never been more skewed to offense, right? The rules that are set up in the league for offense, for offensive quarterbacks to be protected, and go on and on and on. That's why it's more impressive. I think so. You know, some of the things you got away with in the 90s, you can't do now. We just know.
Derek Thomas didn't have to tuck in quarterbacks gently into the night just to get a sack. Think about how many sacks Chris Jones has had erased just from hitting the quarterback too hard.
Because Chris Jones now is going to end up with over 100 sacks in a Chiefs uniform. He's at 75.5. He's going to get to 100 while he's in a Chiefs uniform.
Yeah,
I mean, he's playing 3 years.
Yeah, that's 8.5 a year over 3 years. That seems reasonable.
I think you're still in the next year, this next season, he can still be a double-digit sack guy. Now,
Derek Thomas had 126. Dude. He's still going to be the all-time sack leader for the franchise.
I would be stunned if Chris Jones ended up passing him in that mark. That would just be absolutely ridiculous.
Even in his career, right? I mean, even if he played 4 more years after leaving Kansas City, I don't think he's getting to 126. That's a big number.
But I do think there will be an extremely strong case for Chris Jones to be the greatest defensive player in Chiefs history by the time his career is over, assuming that, he stays healthy over the next 2 or 3. Even if he doesn't play out the entire contract, because none of us expect him to actually see the 5th year of this current deal that he just signed. But that's why you get this deal done. The fact that you and I are having a conversation about between him and Derek Thomas, that's why he's one of the 3 players the front office was willing to pay, why Clark Hunt was willing to pay the top of market and set the market for defensive linemen, match the Aaron Donald deal plus a few $100,000, because he, like Mahomes and Kelsey, is different. They're special players they're willing to make exceptions to, and Chris Jones is that exception now as well.
I guess the way you're talking about it is probably the same way that I should feel in general about it, which is not yet, though, right? You don't think he's the best defensive player in Chiefs history yet.
No.
He's the most accomplished from a postseason
but
perspective.
By the time his career is over,
50 sacks short. I'm not gonna ignore that number.
Yeah, but that's why the debate is just going to be between him and Derek Thomas when his career is over, and we'll see where the numbers and everything's at. I also recognize the sentimental aspect of this. Obviously, the tragic passing of Derek Thomas is going to weigh in heavily for a lot of people deep down in their own personal feelings. And what would the rest of his career have looked like? That's part of the tragedy and why it was so horrific in the car accident and everything. So that is going to be something, though, I think when Chris Jones' career is over, will be a fair argument to have.
It will. You know what? And again, that's probably why you do the deal. It's not why I wouldn't be afraid of it. It's just why I would have done it. When you have an all-time legendary franchise player, and again, there are plenty, like I think Pete Sweeney put out, you had mentioned at the top of the show, and then Pete Sweeney, our friend over there at Pride, had put out the full list. Some of these guys, maybe back in KC, may not, But some of these guys are also a part of a 3-championship run, you know? Some of these guys have multiple rings just like Chris Jones, or have 3 just like Chris Jones, right? McCole Hardman, that's not a defensive player. But Willie Gay Jr. and Derek Nottie, like these guys also have a lot of championships, but they're not the single best player on one side of the football. The thing that will always overskew, like, and this is where we go back to like the coach of the year stuff and all this other stuff, and when we were talking about Spags. You know what'll hurt Chris Jones too? Mahomes. Derek Thomas was the best player on the team, dude.
That's fair.
He wasn't the best player. He was the best player on the whole team, quarterback included. Didn't matter who was on the field with Derek Thomas. He was the best damn player. He was one of the 5 best players in the league. That's Mahomes on this team. He's the best player on the field. He's the best player on the team. When they talk about those rings that Chris Jones has, even though he's a huge part of the reason why they've won him, they'll point to the fact that Patrick Mahomes is the bigger reason why they won him, and his postseason success and the chance to go to all those playoff games and everything in between.
I still think the biggest obstacle, other than the ridiculous numbers that Derek Thomas was able to put up, the toughest obstacle is going to be the numbers plus how I can already tell from the text line, the true like sentimental aspect of it, and just that Derek Thomas was as beloved as any Chief ever, and will always be as loved as a Chief 30 years from now, 50 years from now, doesn't matter. And so that is also part of it. I think it's a fair comment that you brought up, and that also speaks to why people didn't view this Chiefs defense this past year in the historical nature that they should have, and that is that because people just hear Chiefs and assume it's all Patrick Mahomes, and so there is always going to be that issue.
Chris Jones played in all these playoff games as it wasn't for Mahomes. And look, in fairness, the early part of Chris Jones' career was without Patrick Mahomes, and they were one and done in the postseason most of the time. And for a while, this is what helps him in the postseason thing. For a while, his whole story in the postseason was what, Gold? He didn't have a sack.
Yes.
He didn't have a sack for like his first like 7 or 8 postseason games too. Same as Derek Thomas, who we were just pointing out. The difference is Chris Jones got to keep playing in them. And why? Yeah, obviously, I think Patrick Mahomes is a huge reason why. For the very obvious reasons. I just,
We'll see what the final ring. Let's see what the final sack numbers and rings total are for Chris Jones when his career is over. I mean, if Chris Jones ends up with
4 or 5, I mean, just one more.
If it's 4 or 5 and he ends up finishing with 100 sacks, even if he's off the sack pace, it's going to be a very, very strong argument. Very, very strong argument for Chris Jones. But that's the thing about the contract extension. Now you've got a chance to be one of those really, really, really special players in Chiefs history because you're going to play 95, if not 100% of your career in a Chiefs uniform.
Finally got a deal.
Okay.
It took 12 minutes. How embarrassing. First deal off the books, the Bears have agreed to terms with running back DeAndre Swift on a 3-year, $24 million deal, according to Mike Garafolo and Ian Rappaport.
There was like a 4-game stretch this year where DeAndre Swift looked as good as any running back in football.
3 years for 24 is pretty good for a running back.
Yeah, you know where I'm at on just paying running backs. And
no, I mean for him, for Swift.
But for Swift, it's great. Yeah, and for Chicago, they're in a different spot. They potentially are going to have a quarterback on a rookie deal. They still have one on a rookie deal either way. Justin Fields is on a rookie deal still. And then if they draft
they might have 2 quarterbacks on a rookie deal. I don't want to say for sure.
They definitely could. So you're able to spend a little bit more money, but that's not terrible. He had 1,000 yards last year. He's 24 years old, soon to be 25. And there were a couple of stretches of games last year where he is as good as any running back. So that is the first, quote-unquote, big name off the board with the legal tampering period about 12, 13 minutes underway right now. Also, a couple just other speculation out there. Reports the Patriots heavily pursuing wide receiver Calvin Ridley. We know they don't have their quarterback figured out yet, but yes.
I think that the Swift contract met his market projected contract as well. I believe that was around like $8 million a year was what they were projecting.
Well, I was a little bit worried about the wide receiver market for a little bit, and we'll see how it pans out because Kendrick Bourne got like $4 million more than Pro Football
on an extension to stay in New England.
Yeah, he got 3 for $33 to stay there. And look, Bourne and Ridley, that's a decent wide receiver unit. It's not. I'm not blown away by it or anything. But that's a decent enough wide receiver unit, depending on who is your starting quarterback. And there's still the most fascinating one in the Justin Fields department or some of these others where you're like, who are you planning on starting? Like, they've never been at the top of the reports for the Kirk Cousins department. Who is it you're planning on starting at quarterback? They're the number 3 overall pick, but some people didn't think necessarily they were going to go quarterback there. So, like, You want something. You want weapons for whoever you're starting at quarterback, because odds are they're not going to have a seasoned one, or at least not a good seasoned one.
While we're talking quarterbacks in the league, we know two things happened over the weekend. One, Baker Mayfield got the massive extension. You want to bet on yourself. We mentioned that with Chris Jones. Baker Mayfield bet on himself, goes to Tampa, was making like $3 million last year. Now he's going to be making over the next couple of years well over $60 million guaranteed. Could make over about $100 million when it's all said and done. And then Russell Wilson. He had that trip on Friday. We were joking because he didn't fly private. He just stopped in Newark and was flying coach, essentially.
Had a layover to talk to the Giants for half a second.
And he signs with the pair, will officially sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers on Wednesday. And because of the financial element where the Broncos are paying 99.9% of the contract, I don't hate it for Pittsburgh. Not that I think that he's a great quarterback, but yeah, it's the financial fact that I can have a guy come in and compete or win the starting job, most likely, over Kenny Pickett, and get average quarterback play maybe next year, and I'm paying him $1.5 million.
If it doesn't work out, you could just eat it. If he's a terrible teammate and you want to run him out of the building and you just want to start Kenny Pickett Gold, it's $1.3 million. I'll be honest, this is a great deal for Pittsburgh. Pretending otherwise is kind of silly. As much as we want to make fun of Russell Wilson, getting a starting caliber, even if it's the 25th best starter, getting a starting caliber quarterback at $1.3 million, the Chiefs couldn't sign Blaine Gabbert for that, okay?
Yeah, and he was better than 25th last year. I know 2 years ago he was the worst quarterback in football. Last year he's probably like the 18th.
Sure, but if you can get a starting quarterback or somebody competing for your starting job for $1.3 million, again, Chase Daniel's last deal was triple that, okay? And he's a career backup with almost no starter experience. It's a steal for the Steelers. Now, I'm rooting for one of two things because it's really funny. It can only go two ways in which it's really funny because the quarterback market's crazy. I can't believe Baker got $30 million a year. And if he didn't make the postseason, would he have gotten that? We can get to Baker in a minute. Russell Wilson, the two funniest outcomes are one or the other. One, he's great again. And the Broncos gave him $85 million to go away. And Russell Wilson is really good again. Tomlin turns him around, and he leads them to the postseason, and the Broncos finish 6-10 with no quarterback. Second funniest outcome is Russell Wilson continues to be the way it has gone. He shows up in Pittsburgh and gives Mike Tomlin his first ever losing season as a head coach. And you're like, oh, you brought in Russ, and then things immediately went bad. What did you do, Pittsburgh? Aren't those the two funniest outcomes?
Yeah, I mean, I cannot wait till he goes back to Denver. That means twice in 2 years as a head coach.
Play each other, yeah.
Twice in 2 years. Yeah, they're on the schedule. I don't know when. I mean, the NFL, if they're smart, they schedule that early in the year.
They haven't put it out yet.
Yeah, it'll be May. Yeah, but if they're smart, they put them playing each other early in the year when there's maybe a better chance that Russell Wilson actually starts for the Steelers. Because in 2 years in a row, Sean Payton will have badmouthed the Jets and had Nathaniel Hackett, who sucked, but still go to Denver. And remember, Sean Payton had to shake the hand of Robert Saleh and the coaching staff, and the Jets beat the Denver Broncos. And then the next year, Russell Wilson beating Sean Payton would be great. It'd be 2 years in a row where Sean Payton looked like a fool.
Yes, I like that. That outcome sounds funny to me. And I like the funniest conceivable outcome. It is just objectively a good deal. Tampa Bay, on the other end, Baker did a nice job for him, man. And I understand that a 3-year deal is really a 2-year deal, and there's more wiggle room in that thing than we're pretending. But they had to have like a million things go right around them just to make the postseason last year with Baker. Then you want to give them $100 million? I mean,
that was their only path, though. We all knew that was going to happen.
Like, damn,
but that was their only path. I mean, the minute he started to play at that level and get him in the postseason, they won the division. They were going to pay. I mean,
you could just restart. I know that sounds crazy, but we talked about
not with the current regime.
I don't remember what the last quarterback we talked about this with, but like it fails so many times. Like they don't have a choice but to pay Daniel Jones. You always have a choice. You don't have to do this. This is not going to work out. This isn't going to go anywhere. You could just.
Well, yeah, nobody's saying the Bucs. Nobody's saying the Bucs are winning the Super Bowl, Cody. I don't think that's the argument. But when Baker played at that level, and you just had your franchise wide receivers sign back, he had to have known that Baker Mayfield was also coming back. I mean, would you rather them just go sign Kirk Cousins for 2 years? It's going to cost you a lot more.
Or trade for Fields? Yeah, I would.
I think the Bucs are at a spot.
Start over in the draft.
Yeah, but Todd Bowles, the head coach, and the GM is Jason Light or whatever, who won a ring a couple years ago. They, we act like resetting. Yeah, for the fan base, is that better? But there's also sometimes people involved where they don't have 5 years to reset the thing, 4 years to reset the thing. And so in the case of job security, it's probably better for Todd Bowles to go win 10 games and be out in the first round of the playoffs again than it is to reset and then have a season where they win 6 games. He's probably not around for that. So he doesn't care about what you're saying.
He might win 6 games with Baker.
Though in that division, I still think they win 8+ next year.
That division is really bad.
I mean, the Falcons, if they get Kirk Cousins, will be the heavy favorite to win it. But I get what you're saying. I don't disagree. We all know the Bucs aren't going to the promised land with Baker Mayfield, but also how many teams are. I mean, this is always the weird conversation we're in. Like, yes, there are only a certain amount of 5 or 6 quarterbacks we truly think going in every year can win a Super Bowl. It doesn't mean everybody else can have a rookie quarterback every year. So there has to be some middle of the road quarterback. That's why we talk about top 15. Someone's going to be 15th.
Yeah, I understand that, and I understand the number associated with it. It's just not what I would do. I just wouldn't give 100. I would never. If I were an owner of a team or a GM of a team, I feel like I got a better chance of proving my worth if I don't give 30-year-old Baker Mayfield, I think he's 30.
In fairness, though, you wouldn't have signed him last year either for $3 million.
I don't know. Maybe not. For 3.
Like, they get credit for that. Like, they get credit for that and turning him into a guy that's capable
of 3, I'm not saying I wouldn't, because if I'm going to take a chance on the veteran quarterback and I got a stopgap like you're talking about, right? Their long-term plans aren't Baker Mayfield forever. They eventually will make a different move at quarterback. I would always go cheap or young and cheap or both. In that case, like Justin Fields, I think, is like the best deal on the market.
Some other news as free agency is underway. It looks like veteran left tackle for the Buffalo Bills, Deion Dawkins, is going to be released as the Bills kind of fire sale, if you will, continues. He just put out on social media, "It was good while it lasted, Buffalo. Peace. Excited for this next chapter of my football career." And then he said, "Wonder if it's okay to eat ranch now." Obviously referencing the wings there in Buffalo as well. But Deion Dawkins, who for whatever reason decides to do every podcast interview shirtless, he looks like will not be the left tackle. He's 29 years old. A name to keep in mind. I'm dead serious on the conversation for what the Chiefs could do at left tackle moving forward. I mean, I think there's... Nate Taylor brought up that maybe the tackles.
Tyron Smith.
Yeah, Tyron Smith's the big name. That's going to cost you a ton of money. I would like them to find a long-term option at left tackle, as in the next 3 years, instead of going with a 1-year stopgap like Donovan Smith again. Wanya Morris is here, sure, but we're going to find out how confident they are that they can start a second-year left tackle based on their actions in free agency and obviously the draft. But another name added. It doesn't hurt to have another name that's 29 years old in the left tackle market in terms of what that can mean for some potential options for Kansas City and otherwise. I mean, Dawkins, 29 years old, only missed 3 games the last 4 seasons. So you want a guy that's on the field? He fits that.
Can't say as much about Tyron, which you previously mentioned. Well, at least there'll be some left tackles out on the market, because Donovan Smith will also be out there for the Chiefs if they go 1-year stopgap again, as you pointed out. I think you've been saying for years you want a long-term answer at left tackle.
Yeah.
And that is the obvious. I'm not saying you're wrong for having that opinion. Obviously, that would be preferred. I've also just come accustomed to the way they've handled left tackle and the cost of the other linemen for draft pick and compensation. I've kind of just lived my life. But I like that their left tackle's available, as always.
Trash of the day.
All right, we'll do a little trash real quick, and then in the Chiefs Run Half Hour, we get back into the NFL because free agency technically is underway, the legal tampering period, the last 20 minutes or so. This takes us out west to the Mountain West, where you may have seen the video by now, but Utah State playing in the Mountain West tournament. Their women's basketball coach, Kayla Ard, okay? They had a first-round loss, so their season was over. And they only won like 9 games over the past 2 years, so it's been a struggle to say the least. But they lost to Boise State 85-49. They got their ass kicked. All right. So post-game press conference is going on, and, this was their head coach.
And how do you plan to rebuild for next season?
I'm not going to be rebuilding. I just coached my last game at Utah State. I spoke with Diana, and they're going in a different direction, and I respect her decision, and I hope they get a really good coach in. So that's going to be the last question.
That was it. Okay.
Thank you.
That's going to be the last question.
Went to the press conference. She had already been fired. What do you think about next year's team? Well, I'm not going to be the coach. I hope they find a good coach. So, I mean, she found out 5 minutes before, and they made her still go up and give a press conference setting. That's a terrible look for Utah State. Props to her for even going on the podium, knowing that she just got canned. What an awkward moment for Utah State, for her, but for Utah State in particular, and how they handled the fire. You couldn't wait till the coach got back to Utah State, to Logan, Utah.
That's such a weird way to handle it. Also, I'm really confused on Deion Dawkins now. Dawkins was messing with everyone. He's not being released. He just signed a 3-year extension.
Why did he put out that post?
He's messing with everyone. The Bills and 3-time Pro Bowl left tackle Deion Dawkins have reached an agreement on a 3-year, $60.5 million extension per Adam Schefter, playing with everyone on social media, believing he was released. Classic Deion Dawkins.
I mean, it was a real post. It wasn't a fake account or anything. It was
really
That's a really good troll, actually.
It's a real post.
Well, he trolled him right before Schefter announced his extension. Cross him off the list.
Yeah, he would have been a great option at left tackle.
Well, he got me.
Yeah, so he says, I'm never leaving. I'm Buffalo for life.
Anyway, back to Utah State, as that one threw me off for just a second. How either fire them before and don't ever let them step to the podium, or just wait, Gold, until after they do the post-game press conference to fire them. It clearly seems like she came off the court. The AD said, all right, look, you're not going to be in this job anymore. And then she had to go stand on the podium. Also, I think the reporters missed there. I'm guessing that's the last question. No, I have so many more, right? I want to know when they told you. Does everyone else know? How long have you known? I want to know a million things from this person. What an awkward post-game press conference.
I've never seen that before.
No,
we've all heard the quick coach fire like 2 hours after a game or whatever, but I've never seen a coach go to the press conference and say, "Oh yeah, by the way, I've been fired. I'm been let go. I'm not coaching this team next year."
She got set up perfect. It's like, how do you plan on rebuilding? I'm not planning on rebuilding anything. My ass just got canned. See you later.
They did go 5-26.
Yeah, well, what I mean, I'm not saying it was wrong to
I'm
fire.
not going to break down Utah women's basketball. I don't know how
it's
things
the
are going
timing.
there.
It's
the principle of doing it literally right after the game and then having her still go up and answer one question.
All right, that's the trash of the day. Up next, Chiefs Red Half Hour. We'll get you caught up on some of the moves already happening around the NFL over the last half hour. And thinking of offensive linemen, could there be a surprise trade with one of the Chiefs' O-linemen? That's next.
Cody and Gold.
There is a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs.
On your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Do you want to skip your car payment this month? How about for 6 months? I'm Jeff Davis, owner of Volkswagen Lease Summit. We're offering payment relief.
Buy a new car at Volkswagen Lease Summit and get no payments for up to 6 months. That's right, no payments for up to 6 months. Or we have low leases starting at $239 a month and rates as low as 0% for 60 months.
Get payment relief today at Volkswagen Lease Summit. Visit VWLeaseSummit.com.
Financing through VCI on approved credit. Call 816-841-7383 for details.
Men, this is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. And you've heard me talk a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, your energy levels, and more. But today I want to talk to you about your sex drive, because low testosterone can have a significant impact on your desire for intimacy. It can even be a factor in erectile dysfunction. And if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, a low sex drive could really be a problem. The good news is that if you're like most guys, treating your low testosterone could really change the way you feel about sex, giving you back the flame and desire that is so important when you love someone. So if you're feeling sluggish and tired, if you're not sleeping well, if your workouts aren't that great, and most of all, if your sex drive is more like a putt, make an appointment at Heartland Men's Health and have your testosterone levels checked. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 2 offices, Overland Park, Kansas, and Independence, Missouri.
The best deals at the pump happen when you shop the aisles of Hy-Vee with help from the first Warn 5 weather team.
This is KCTV5 Chief Meteorologist Luke Doris. Watch KCTV5 Sunday night at 10 for our official high temperature.
Whatever it was on Sunday means you save on Monday with your Hy-Vee Perks card. If the high was 63 degrees, you save 63 cents a gallon when you spend at least $63.
Watch First Warn 5 weather on KCTV5 this Sunday at 10.
Hey, it's Kling. There are many reasons I love Hy-Vee, the great values, the selection, the service, and I love to rack up fuel savers. And you can as well. Shop Hy-Vee on Monday, earn a fuel discount equal to the high temperature on Sunday and the amount you spend. If the high is 68 degrees on Sunday, I'll save 68 cents per gallon when I spend $68 on Monday. Heat up the savings every Monday through April 29th only at Hy-Vee.
Must look up code 80007 at checkout or promo code Heat Up when shopping online. See store for details.
You give your all to your team. From the time you put into watching the game to the miles you travel to make it there. So to give back to Big 12 fans, you can now save 12 cents a gallon with the Fuel Forward app from March 7th through the 17th. Because you fuel the game, but we fuel you.
Phillips 66, title sponsor of the Phillips 66 Big 12 Basketball Championships. No minimum purchase required. Can be combined with other offers.
If you're a pro and flooring is your game, we'll help you win it. Because at LL Flooring, all we do is floors. You want decor? Strike. You want plumbing? You're out. LL Flooring has been helping pros knock it out of the park for over 30 years. Visit one of our 400 nationwide warehouses for one-on-one service, extensive inventory, and exclusive pro pricing. Get the pro treatment you deserve. Enroll today, online or in-store. LL Flooring, every step covered.
This March, Wendy's has some amazing deals on their hamburgers made with fresh, never frozen beef.
Like a juicy Dave's single for $1 and a fresh $2 Dave's double with in-app offer.
It's such a good deal, we wrote a little ditty about it. Get it for $1. Dave's single, order in the app. Dave's single, get it for $1. Choose wisely, choose Wendy's official hamburger March Madness.
Limited time offer. Participating U.S. Wendy's. See offer details and redeem at Wendy's app. Account registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S. and Alaska.
You've heard it said, he's a diamond in the rough. Or maybe, diamonds are forever. Here's something else I've learned about diamonds. They're just pieces of coal put under pressure for a long, long, long time. So when I start feeling like I want to give up, I think about that little piece of coal. And if that piece of coal can make something of itself by not giving up, so can I. Persistence is in you. Pass it on. From PassItOn.com.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Gabby.
Hey, Gabby. It's Jennifer Coolidge. Hi. I'm so glad I reached you at 2 a.m.
Oh, of course. Anyone with a Discover card can call and talk to a real person 24/7. Now, how can I help?
Yeah, I used my Discover card to buy these yellow pleather pajamas, and I'm just not sure I'm pulling them off.
24/7 U.S.-based customer service. It pays to Discover. Limitations apply. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
At Target, our prices for Easter are so low, you can put all your eggs in one basket. Surprise them with Target exclusive Favorite Day treats, like our unique chocolate bunny and a cute basket, all from just $4. Add in some fun with a 6-pack of bubbles, 50-piece sidewalk chalk, and super soft stuffed animals, all from $5. And get great family picks with new Easter looks. It's easy with women's and girls' dresses for only $20 and under. Low prices on everything for Easter? Now that's Target.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Chiefs coverage brought to you by Max Motors. 9 major vehicle brands to choose from. MaxMotors.com. Going on at all Max Ford locations.
Love it or trade it now.
0% for 72 months on new 2023 Ford F-150s in stock.
Pick your model, choose your color.
In Harrisonville, Manhattan, Richmond, Butler, and Nevada.
Hurry in while selection is best.
With approved credit expires March 31st, 24.
Chiefs Kingdom. This is Mitch Holtis, and welcome into the Chiefs Red Half Hour on Cody and Gold. Every day at 11:30 on your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
All right, let's get you caught up on a couple moves that have happened around the NFL with the legal tampering window wide open across the league for all 32 teams. DeAndre Swift, the biggest deal since the tampering period has opened up. A 3-year deal with the Chicago Bears for the running back, $24 million, $16.5 million in the first 2 years, according to Ian Rappaport. So it averages about $8.25 million over the first 2 seasons. Just 24 years old, had a fantastic season last year. A lot of money for a running back, but again, as we said, rookie quarterback deal, either with Fields or with Caleb Williams, perhaps.
Maybe both.
So you're able to do that. Maybe both as well. Also, Deion Dawkins, despite faking everybody out by saying he was leaving Buffalo on his Twitter account, he has signed reportedly a 3-year extension to make him one of the league's highest paid tackles to stay with the Buffalo Bills. Before the legal tampering period opened up, the Colts did not have to worry about Michael Pittman playing the entire year on a franchise tag. That's because they agreed to a 3-year, $70 million deal. This from Adam Schefter, can reach up to $71.5 million, $46 million guaranteed. Those are the moves right now that we know of already happening as the tampering period has opened up. And for DeAndre Swift, guaranteed money-wise, not a bad spot to be in. The only running backs right now that are slated to make more money guaranteed over the next couple seasons that play his position, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, Nick Chubb, and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Good job for DeAndre Swift's agent. The age things helps him, man. Where he was drafted, Gold, and his age. He was a highly drafted running back. He was productive last year, and he's young. That's why he got paid. I still think for the most part, running back numbers will be down. We'll see. Saquon and Derrick Henry and the million other running backs that are available and what their numbers come in at. The good news is that I think the Chiefs will be shopping in the second or third tier version of that. So the prices might really come down by the time they get to the level of running back they would be looking at.
Here in Kansas City, we'll find out if there's any other moves today. We know Chris Jones, according to Nate Taylor, did pass his physical today, so that deal's about to be official, the 5-year contract.
So Mike Carey's presser or something for you tomorrow?
Yeah, there's a chance that happens. But a name on the offensive line that we haven't talked about in what flexibility the Chiefs could have. Look, we know Jonathan Taylor's not going anywhere at right tackle. Creed Humphrey has a year left on his rookie deal. Trey Smith also in the same boat. Joe Thuney is here till 2026. Maybe there's a restructure opportunity. Left tackle right now is just Wanye Morris under contract, and that's why the left tackle market's going to be interesting to watch. Trey Smith at right guard is intriguing because even in the past years, we've discussed that class, Bolton, Humphrey, and Smith, and because of the position Trey Smith plays, I think we kind of assume that he likely would be the odd man out when it comes time to actually get an extension. The question is, are they going to keep him to play out the final year of a deal? And it's not because his play has suffered. He's been very, very good. But knowing what the market might be for that position to retain him, is there more value to move on now? Is that a possibility? Because guard's easier to find in the draft than a Nick Bolton replacement or a Creed Humphrey replacement.
Well, especially if you go free agency with left tackle, which I still think is a real possibility. If you go free agency with left tackle, then I think my answer is yes. I think it would make sense based on that. And look, he's not Landon Dickerson, the former Philadelphia Eagle who signed an extension. Oh, I'm sorry. He signed an extension with the Eagles. The current Philadelphia Eagle just got a new deal. I don't think he's getting paid at that level. But if this is what new guard money is, Gold, then it makes even more sense for both an acquiring team, somebody who can keep his number down, and for this. He today got an $84 million deal with $50 million guaranteed in that deal at guard. And if that's the price tag you're going to pay, then it goes back to the same thing we said. Can't pay Creed and Trey. Who do you pay? Typically, teams pay the center because of the importance with the relationship with the quarterback. Not all the time.
Yeah.
But typically they do that. And I do think that there'd be a market for Trey ahead of the draft before there. But it requires you... I think it absolutely requires you signing a left tackle in free agency so you can spend one of the higher picks on guard. As in, like, a second rounder could go to guard or a third rounder could go to guard.
I think so.
Someone who could start.
I think so, because we're going to talk about 2024 and this all-in approach and three-peat and all that. Well, then getting rid of one of the better guards, not the best, but one of the better guards, top half of the league guards in football, and Trey Smith, well, does that actually help you or not? That's where the other interesting scenario comes into play that's been floated out. I actually think it was Eric Eager who floated this out over on social media in the last week or so, which is the scenario where they trade Trey Smith, they move Creed Humphrey over to guard, and they draft a center or find another center. Now, that would be a lot more moving pieces,
That's
though.
a lot. That's a very
The question
different
for the
vibe.
Chiefs is if they believe deep down, and not just publicly in a press conference, but deep down, do they believe they can fix the snapping issues? And thinking of snapping, Matt Derrick reporting some Chiefs news in the last 60 seconds or so. Matt Derrick over at Chiefs Digest. The Chiefs have agreed to terms on a new contract with long snapper James Winchester.
Ah, he's back. God, I was
not available.
So
I know that was the area when he became an unrestricted free agent. I know that was, if you're going to have, Harrison Butker having a new long snapper and you're going to have him having a new holder, you got to make sure you keep some consistency there.
Yeah.
Good for James Winchester.
That's a 3-time champion.
That's right.
Can't lose that kind of championship experience, Honest to God, I've never noticed any kind of problem with James Winchester long snapping, so he seems to be doing a perfectly fine job.
Keep going forward.
I like that he was just on the list of available free agents, and I was like, he's not going to sign anywhere else. James Winchester was never going anywhere. The real question is, can you get in the Chiefs' Ring of Honor as a long snapper if you're a 3-time champ? If you're the all-time best long snapper for this team, you can definitely bang the drum ahead of a game. I feel confident about that.
Yeah.
I think you can be a Chiefs ambassador and go to some events, and I think you can do that.
Of course.
I don't know about Ring of Honor, man. But this is going to give him a better chance, Chance for 4 or 5 rings now for James Winchester.
True.
Back on Trey for just a minute. The reason why this would, and look, I understand this idea of moving Creed to guard, why people have kicked that around. This is his 3rd year in the league, and he was a college player for all those years. This is the first time it's been a problem, which makes me think it's solvable. I know it's hard to fix things.
But that's the determination they have to make.
Yeah, it is. It's because every other part of the job of center, he does great. So, shuffling the chairs around, to me, if you want really good guard play, then just keep Trey and find a different center. Yeah, and that feels like the further down option. My problem is that guard has gotten expensive.
It has.
And it's easier to find in the draft, as you've pointed out, especially guys who can start day one, opposite Tooney and Creed and Juwan and other people that you're comfortable with. You're just replacing one person maybe on the line, too, if Donovan Smith doesn't come
back. And the Chiefs know deep down if they can correct the snapping thing. I like when you said he does everything else good. Well, the snapping's a big part of being center, So it's
I'm not saying it's nothing. I'm just saying every other part of the job is not a problem. You got to fix one thing.
That has to be. If they think he just had the yips or something and he can fix it, then no problem there, and keep him at center, keep that relationship there with Mahomes and Humphrey, and move forward. As we bring up the Trey Smith, that if they were to do something at that position, don't be stunned. There's some reason that could be something that they pursue at some point in free agency or this offseason. A move, if all of a sudden we find out that the Chiefs trade Trey Smith for I don't know what you get, Cody, a 4th-round pick. I have no idea.
Yeah, you might get a 3rd or a 4th
something
back.
like that. Don't freak out necessarily. There's another potential plan and know where the market is at. It's just, are you good with just getting a comp pick for Trey Smith in a year or so? You good with getting in 2026 a 4th or 5th round comp pick and potentially not getting a whole lot? Is it worth continuing Trey Smith, who I think has been very good at right guard, for this three-peat? I think the answer is yes. I'm okay if that means that I only get a comp pick in a couple years. I'd rather know that I got my right guard still taken care of next to my right tackle, Juwan Taylor, who's been struggling at times.
One more veteran running back off the list. We had mentioned earlier that DeAndre Swift was signed with the Bears. According to Aaron Wilson, the Titans are expected to sign running back Tony Pollard.
Okay.
A league source.
Friend of the show, Tony Pollard.
Yeah, he was on the show once.
The Vikings are also bringing in Jonathan Grenard.
Yeah, pass rusher.
What do you have, 12 and a half sacks? I mean, he's a good player. He had
very good
double-digit sacks last year.
Pass rusher for the Texans, who now is going to be with the Vikings. We all know Danielle Hunter likely is not going to be in Minnesota anymore. So if you're trying to
I want to hit him like 2 years ago. You remember?
Yeah. So that might be the answer for losing Danielle Hunter. If you're the Vikings, you bring in Jonathan Grenard. But Tony Pollard, I'll be curious to see what the deal looks like on that. He did not have a great year in Dallas as the guy. That was the mistake.
Tajay Spears,
yeah, well, you just pair him up. I mean, I don't know who's the backup or not, but either way, it's more of a true split versus they got rid of Zeke, which was no problem. That was the right deal. There's not much left in the tank for Zeke, but Tony Pollard clearly proved that he can't be the guy. And there's very few of those running backs in the league, which is why Isaiah Pacheco is great. I still think it's important to have somebody behind him that you trust. Now, there's a limitation. I wouldn't have. We'll see. That's why I'm curious on the Tony Pollard number, because I'm not paying my quote-unquote backup running back, $6.5 million a year. And my guess is Tony Pollard is going to get something like $5.5 or $6 million a year in Tennessee.
So when it comes to these agent things, do you think, so they called him, Ian Rappaport called him star defensive end Greenard.
Is it Greenard or Grenard? I don't even know.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know.
I have no idea.
He had 12 and a half sacks last year, had a very good year. Maybe he just views him as a star because he had double-digit sacks, maybe. But do you think the agent said, hey, look, I'll give you this scoop, but you got to call him a star? Did you see over the weekend that
Florio.
guy? No, what even just...
Well, no, Florio kind of actually, that was one thing where he was somewhat correct on, which is this idea of the same with the dollar amounts getting reported, initially, and they're phrased in a very positive way to make the agent look good, and that's part of the trade-off to get the scoop. I do believe that happens, yes.
Yeah, and one of them over the weekend was 3 different people reported on like a tight end signing, and it was like from tight end guru, this agent. You're like, oh my God, this guy made everyone he gave the scoop say tight end guru or tight end agent in their tweet. I'm like, oh God, why? Like the idea, Gold, you're like, hey, I got the scoop for you, but you gotta like imagine if I had the scoop on. It doesn't matter. Creed Humphrey signed an extension. Just me, I got the scoop. But everybody I told, including like Schefter or anyone else, they had to call me like Creed Humphrey aficionado, Cody Tapp with the information. Like, could you imagine how embarrassing that is? Don't do that to yourself. Don't make them use little.
Do you
weird
consider
language.
yourself Creed Humphrey aficionado?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I don't even know what that means.
What would that entail? What would that
No, it's a
entail?
cigar.
So there's a lot of moves happening right now around the league. The Chiefs, obviously the big one from the weekend, Chris Jones, and we'll continue to talk about that and the impact that has. Because looking at that deal that Chris Jones got, yes, it's a 5-year deal, really like a 3-year deal. This upcoming year, the cap number $7.35 million. In 2025, 34.8, 2026, 41.1. In years that I don't think we'll ever really see, but year 4 and 5, 34.3, and year 5, 41.1. Those are the cap hits for Chris Jones, who won this negotiation. Like, the Chiefs are getting a hell of a player. I think they don't win the Super Bowl last year without him. I'm thrilled he's back. But this is one of those times where the holding out, missing week 1 last year, then coupled with you got to back it up with your play. He did all of that, and he got rewarded. He got the best of both worlds. He got the deal that matches Aaron Donald plus like $300K, and he gets to stay with the best franchise in football. So, like, he didn't have to go get paid. Like, hey, that was the balance we
Usually
discussed.
gotta leave to get
like,
paid.
hey, if you want to go get the most money possible, and maybe he gets an extra $1 million somewhere else. I don't know, okay?
I think they paid top of the mark.
But they pretty much did. So he gets that, and he gets to stay in a place where he knows he can succeed. The defensive coordinator that he loves, the franchise, the city that he loves, and a place that already has 3 rings in his back pocket that might lead to him getting 4 or 5.
I think it's a great deal for Chris Jones. Like, if I was evaluating the deal from Chris Jones over the weekend on both sides, it's a great deal for Chris Jones. I don't think he sees years 4 and 5 of that deal, but that's not what the Chiefs were offering last year, and that's not what any team was going to offer. Mm-hmm. The 4th year was always going to be paper. He got a 5th paper deal, which, by the way, normally what that means is you get a few $1 million just to not play for the team. You know, signing that 5th year, Gold, means, you're like $2 million in the dead cap, and you get a few $1 million for not playing on that team with whichever team you've got a new contract for. Okay, cool. But it's a great deal for Chris Jones. He got Aaron Donald money. This same time last year, I would have told you, hey, land anywhere below Aaron Donald money, and I'm probably willing to sign that deal if I'm the Chiefs. But you can't be Aaron Donald money unless you play at his level. Last year, for the 2nd consecutive year, he was the best interior defensive lineman and a dominant force in the postseason. I think Chris Jones and his agents got the best deal on the market. For the Chiefs, I would have done it, but it would have... I would have had a little bit of like rumble in my gut, scared of the deal a little bit, because 3 years is a long time for a player age 30, 31, and 32 on a deal in which his cap numbers starting next year are astronomical. And I think it puts you in a little bit of a tight cap situation starting next year.
Yeah, when you say, and I just for clarity, because people hear 2025.
Yeah.
I know it's weird. No, you're right. It's just
for the following league year. For this year, he's only owed $7.3 million against the cap. He's in your $35-40 million cap number next season, as in 2025, the season after, in year 2 of the deal. You're right. So in year 2 of the deal, it starts creating a problem in 2025 and 2026. I'd have been afraid of it a little bit for his age.
Well, I bet you internally,
he's just too good of a player.
I bet you internally, I mean, those are conversations I'm sure Brett Veach and the front office had. Like, there's obviously some risk involved anytime you sign someone to, $95 million guaranteed essentially as a contract. I mean, that was the balance that we discussed. If you're going to give him an Aaron Donald type deal, and he basically got exactly that, are you okay with in 2 years that there's a chance there's a dip in production and you might be paying that guy $34 million against the cap? That's the risk you have. Now, do I doubt what Chris Jones is bringing to the table next year when you're trying to three-peat? No, I expect Chris Jones to be just as dominant next season. I expect him to have another great year. And you're trying to accomplish something that hasn't happened in NFL history. And I think if the Chiefs had not won this past year's Super Bowl, I wonder if this is a deal that they actually get done. Now, though, we know he's part of the 3 that they're willing to make exceptions for. and pay you the highest salary at your position. Mahomes, obviously, Kelsey for the most part, and now it's Chris Jones. And that's why, and we'll talk more about this again in the noon hour, that's why I think L'Jarius Sneed is like almost 90% getting traded now, dude. Like, I'm looking at, you think they're paying top dollar on another guy that you know what I mean? I just don't think they're conceding at another position where Chris Jones impacts the line, and he also helps at your corners by getting to the quarterback. Whereas L'Jarius Sneed was so damn good and dominant. He did everything, as Nate said, everything you could ask for him to do, but I'm not paying you that kind of dollar amount, $20 million a year. I don't know if I can.
No, but it's weird because typically if a player you draft does literally everything he's supposed to do, L'Jarius Sneed showed up as a 4th-round pick, was underpaid, played like by the time he was done with the deal, developed into one of the league's best corners and helped you win multiple championships. And you're like, well, you know what? See ya. I still think that Trent McDuffie has a part to do with that. I don't think if McDuffie was an okay player or a pretty good player, or hell, if he was a bust, if he was Kaiir Elam, Sneed would be getting paid right now too, right alongside Chris Jones, and they'd figure out some way to do it, or they'd be paying some other corner. But the young guys behind it can dictate it, because that's why I think the Chiefs did the Chris Jones deal. Is the opposite end of what we're talking with Trent McDuffie is. If you take the same thing you and I knew, if you took Chris Jones away from this line, it is, at least on paper today, it would have been one of the 5 worst defensive lines in football. They'd had one guy you trusted in George Karlaftis and no one else that you knew could give you actual production. And no matter what you would have done in the interior part of the defensive line, way worse play. Like 70% play at best, I think, if you brought in like a Leonard Williams or whatever. They knew the drop-off between the defensive line play with and without Chris Jones. They know the drop-off between L'Jarius Sneed and the other ones less than that. The part of the reason the Chris Jones deal has always made sense is replacing him, as I think, again, Nate Taylor told us not long ago, is really hard. Finding a replacement for Chris Jones is nearly impossible. Finding a replacement for L'Jarius Sneed might be as simple as get a second-round pick really right. For Chris Jones, and I know he's taking the second round, it is not that simple. It's getting a pick like that right once every 7 years.
It's a future Hall of Famer that was so dominant in the Super Bowl. I mean, that was a contract ceiling type of performance.
Plays.
Yeah, I mean, a contract ceiling type of performance, and that's why he gets that deal. We are seeing some numbers now start to come in from Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport on a few of the players that have agreed to deals during the legal tampering period. We had mentioned Tony Pollard signing a deal, the running back, former Cowboy, now a member of the Tennessee Titans. Numbers on that, I was curious where it was going to be because it's fine we can mention these running back names, but if you're having a backup running back, I don't need to be paying you $6 or $8 million a year if I'm Kansas City. So Tony Pollard reportedly getting a 3-year, $24 million contract, so $8 million a year. I'm good on that.
I'm good. $8 million, but again, they were never going to be in. I mean, if that's the price tag, you and I thought they might be in the Pollard market because it seemed like a good veteran back to pair up with Pacheco. Not at $8 million a year. We also have to understand, you know what that deal's going to end up being? 2 for 10, $3 million in year 1 or $4 million in year 1 with an absolute cut in year 3.
Yeah. News just came out. David Bakhtiari is getting released by the Packers.
Okay.
Wait,
can't
for
stay
real?
healthy.
He's had injury issues. I was wondering, is that a deal breaker? Probably.
It's somebody I would look into, but man, oh man, you want to talk about a guy that just can't stay on the field. So he's 32 years old, so he's not a young player anymore in this league, number one. And you thought Donovan Smith had an injury problem in the last year. I mean, here's the last couple of seasons for Bakhtiari. 2021, he played in 1 game. 2022, he played in 11. And last year, he played in 1. It would have to be on such a cheap deal that you're like, all right, I'll bring him in, and I got Wanya Morris behind him, and we'll see what happens.
When he's healthy, he's one of the best, though.
But I mean, when he's healthy, dude, he hasn't played in 16 games since 2019. I mean, that's the problem. Are we sure he has that level of play left in him, you know?
Probably not.
That's why it's got to be a deal that has a ton of incentives in it, and you would have to say that he's competing with Wanya Morris, and I'd be very concerned about relying on Bakhtiari.
Because I told you I would be okay if they entered the year with Wanya Morris as the starter. I'd be fine with Bakhtiari on the right price, right? Because I'm willing to just take the risk that if Bakhtiari once again plays 1 game, like he has each of the last 2 of the last 3 seasons, I'd probably take the risk if I were the Chiefs. But that's only because I'd be fine with Wanya starting. Are they okay with Wanya starting? Honestly, signing Bakhtiari would be their biggest sign that they probably are okay with Wanya starting. And they understand that if for some reason they just get lightning in a bottle, and it's a healthy year of 17 games for Bakhtiari, Wow.
I guess
I don't think that he still can't play left tackle when healthy. He just straight up can't be healthy.
But that's the question. Do you believe why would you believe he's going to be healthier?
Left tackle play doesn't age that bad. Left tackles play really well until they're like 35, 36, 37.
Well, I'm not questioning the play. Why do
I think he'd be healthy?
Yeah, I mean, 3 straight years.
I go into the year thinking Wanye is my starter.
Yeah.
If I say Bakhtiari, my plan is 17 games of Wanye Morris with the, like I said, lightning in a bottle. Oh, no, whoops. Bakhtiari's healthy. Cool.
Yeah, you go into camp and he's healthy at that point in time, fine. And you just have to know that there's probably no chance he's playing in 16.
Okay.
That, to me, is your plan C or plan D. You know, like that to me, is not, like, if you're really feeling like you have to improve left tackle, that's not your first option. That's all right, we couldn't get Tyron Smith or anybody else we were actually
interested
in.
Let's bring in some competition for Wanye.
Yeah, and let's roll with that. That's why. I mean, I don't think Bakhtiari's signing in the first day or two. Do you guys? I'm assuming this is going to drag out a lot
he's
longer.
Getting a 1-year deal. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, I don't know how anybody would give him more than that. I mean, that would be foolish.
He just sounds like a jet. Like Aaron Rodgers, is like, hey guys.
I mean, it's his guy.
Let's go get David.
Yeah, I mean, just unfortunately for a guy that was so good, just when you can't get on the field, it's a sad reality. Like, I gotta. If I'm going to pay you, I got to know that you can be on the field, let alone it's great that you were once good.
His injuries have been like knee and leg related, right? Like,
which at left tackle you'd
right.
Like.
Yeah, 5-time All-Pro, but the last time he was an All-Pro was 4 or 5 years ago. Like that's a little bit of an issue for me, at least, heading into to the free agency period. All right, coming up next, guys, we'll get to what's trending. Continue to keep an eye on all the signings happening across the NFL and what the wide receiver market could be now that we've got a little more clarity on that.
Cody and Gold, weekdays starting at 10 on 610 Sports Radio and the Odyssey app.
FanDuel is putting the ball in your court for the rest of the NBA season because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bets win. You can bet on the NBA with a wide range of bet types, including quick bets, live same-game parlays, player props. You can bet on MVP, Rookie of the Year, defensive players. You can bet on your NBA award. So as we head toward the playoffs, we also have the tournament coming up in college basketball, so you want to be prepared with my friends over at FanDuel. So use FanDuel, use my promo code CDOT, and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA and also 610 Sports Radio. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem. Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
So I've been telling you about not needing contacts or glasses for quite some time now, thanks to DuraVision, thanks to a phone call that I finally made. I didn't put it off anymore. A free consultation at DuraVision, and you can schedule that on the phone at 913-491-3330 or go online to duravision.com. And I get asked about the cost of the LASIK procedure and is it worth it financially as well? And what's really neat is if you go to Duri's website, duravision.com, they actually have a calculator you can customize to lay out the long-term expense that you have with glasses and contacts. So right now, if you go there and you think you're going to use contacts or glasses for another 15 years, you can select that. Annual cost of vision insurance. Let's say it's $125. And an exam, another $125. Glasses, maybe $200. Contact lenses, $250. $100 for the contact lens solution. All of a sudden, it might be $12,000 you're going to spend over the next 15 years. So it ended up being a great financial decision as well. You can make that same decision by going to duravision.com or give them a call, 913-491-3330.
Hi, it's Trey Smith, and in order for our team to get a victory, we need honesty, teamwork, work ethic, humility, and the golden rule. That's why my truck is from the dealer that embodies all those values, Victory Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. And Victory Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram also supports Giving Hope, whose sole purpose is to feed and clothe the needy in Wyandotte County and beyond. Giving back in the highest integrity, that's how Jeff and his team do business. For your next vehicle, visit or go to victorychrysler-dodge-jeepram.com.
Hey, it's Bob Fesco. I just had my yearly physical, and my results were amazing. And I owe it all to the folks at Supplement Superstores. When I first visited them back in November, I was feeling sluggish and wasn't looking good. I needed to drop some weight. Since then, I've lost over 20 pounds. My total cholesterol is down almost 40 points from a year ago. My LDL cholesterol dropped close to 50 points, and I have more energy than ever before. Plus, I'm sleeping like a baby. Supplement Superstore suggested the Flashpoint Complex, and it's been a life changer. And it's so easy. I have a refreshing drink in the morning and another one right before bed. And that's it. Flashpoint Complex is designed to help with fat loss by increasing your metabolism and killing those cravings. The nighttime drink aids in recovery and helps you get a great night of sleep. So try what I use, the Flashpoint Complex, and save 20% when you tell them I sent you. Supplement Superstores has 8 Kansas City area locations. Find one near you. Supplement Superstores, when you're ready to feel your best.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
It's a mystery where Old Spice finds its amazing scents like Himalayan sea salt, but I'm thrilled they have because no other body wash exfoliates and moisturizes 24/7 like Old Spice Gentleman's Himalayan sea salt body wash. Now, if only there was a mountain range separating the Indian subcontinent from the Tibetan plateau where I could hide my Old Spice and keep my family from stealing it, my impossibly smooth skin will finally be safe.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-583-5795.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-583-5795. That's 800-583-5795.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Hey, it's Travis Kelce.
This is Taylor Swift.
You're listening to the official broadcast partner of the Kansas City Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
KCSP Kansas City, WDAF HD2 Liberty, always live on the free Odyssey app. What's trending?
All right, let's check in on the hot topics trending.
Well, number one is that the legal tampering period is wide open in the NFL, so essentially free agency is underway. We know over the weekend the Chiefs took care of Chris Jones, giving him that 5-year contract extension. We'll continue to talk about that throughout the show. But today, just around the NFL, some of the bigger deals, the Titans giving former Cowboys running back a 3-year, $24 million contract. Also, Michael Pittman Jr., not going to be playing for the Colts on the franchise tag. Instead, he's going to be playing for the Colts on a brand new deal. 3 years, reportedly $71 million. Those are just a couple of the bigger moves that have happened already today. Also, David Bakhtiari announcing that after 11 years in Green Bay, he is being released.
3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. Probably just ended up playing with Aaron Rodgers in the Jets rejects department over there in New York, but we'll see. With David Bakhtiari, he did convince them to take on a lot of different, random guys, like Randall Cobb and stuff.
13 games in the last 54 years. Or 13 games in the last 54
years?
13 games in the last, it feels like that. 13 games in the last 54 that he's actually played.
Next up on What's Trending, we thought maybe this was going to be one of those extension deals, but maybe not so much. T. Higgins has officially requested a trade out of Cincinnati. That, according to Adam Schefter. Remember, he just got franchise tag. He's making the 9th or 10th most money on average per year at wide receiver at that tag hit of almost $22 million. But he wants out. No indication about why. Everything in this offseason was Burrow said he wanted him back. Everyone was talking about how they left money on the table to get T. Higgins paid. We knew eventually they were going to have to pay Jamar Chase. But T. Higgins, apparently something changed. And now T. Higgins has requested a trade out of Cincinnati. Now the question is, will they honor it?
Yeah, he clearly doesn't like his quarterback anymore. That's what it is. That's obviously.
He hates Joe Burrow
that's
now?
what it clearly. I mean, it's not money. He's sick
That's
of.
what you're reporting?
He doesn't want Jake Browning throwing him the football. I get it. I wouldn't want Jake Browning the rest of my career throwing me the football at least a couple times a year.
Or maybe he does now.
Oh, he wants to go with Jake to
you
his new
think Jake
spot.
Browning's getting traded
He actually
somewhere?
prefers Jake Browning throwing to him.
Interesting. Next up on What's Trending, college basketball. Over the weekend, what an ugly one it was. The Kansas Jayhawks got their ass kicked, 76-46 down in Houston. KU now gets set for the Big 12 tournament on Wednesday night and they will play the winner of the Cincinnati-West Virginia game. K-State gets a big win against Iowa State. Missouri, they lose again. They finish winless, 0-18 in conference play. The second time in SEC history that a team has gone winless in conference play, and it's the first time
Vanderbilt was the other one.
It's only the second time since 1945.
That's ridiculous. That's why when we were talking about Dennis Gates, I understand he has like one of the top 5 recruiting classes or whatever coming in.
He does, yeah.
This is fireably bad. You can't not win a single
next year he can't.
game.
Next year they got to be a hell of a lot better. I would agree with you, but he's not getting fired after this year.
Also, the Roos lost to Denver in the first round of the Summit League tournament over the weekend.
They did, Cody.
They broke my heart.
The Pioneers of Denver.
They broke my heart. And then UMKC had the audacity to ask me when I want to teach my class for the fall. You know, I needed a break from UMKC for 48 hours. I guess I've had that. God, I'm so disappointed they lost. Lastly, on what's trending, the Chicago Bears are changing up their stadium plans. You might remember they were looking outside of the city for their funding and possible stadium deals, including buying up some land. Instead, the most recent report says Chicago is looking to contribute $2 billion to a lakefront dome stadium in downtown Chicago instead. Look, I like downtown stadiums. I think they're cool. They have some arenas down that way already.
For football, though, downtown doesn't.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Also, full dome stadium. My initial thought was, don't do that in Chicago. Keep the weather. That'd be 3 domes in one conference. But also, Chicago's never had a good quarterback, and partially because they have to throw against 70-mile-an-hour crosswinds in that city. Putting in a dome doesn't seem like all that bad idea.
Yeah, the Packers would be the only outdoor stadium in their division if, in fact, this plan does happen with the Chicago Bears. That's what's trending here on Cody and Gold. Don't forget, we know tournament season is here, so when you're thinking about your brackets, make sure you join the Cody and Gold Bracket Challenge we got going on. We've got free wings for a year up for grabs among some other prizes. So if you want to join the free Cody and Gold Bracket Challenge, just text in to the show, 913-586-7610. That's 913-586-7610. And Drew will shoot you over a link to join up. We'll be reminding you throughout this week and next week, but everybody's doing a bracket. You might as well join our bracket challenge as well. Get some bragging rights over all 3 of us.
Speaking of which, don't forget, for the Big 12 tournament, right before the full thing, we'll be down at No Other Pub on Friday, March 15th as part of that, which means we're going to do the whole show out there from 10 until 2. It's going to be an awesome time. We actually planned maybe we'll be somewhere tomorrow, too, depending if you're floating around. But I need official confirmation before we fire off some tweets. So just pay attention to our social media page. But we'll be out at No Other Pub during the show Friday, March 15th, and save an extra 12 cents per gallon at Phillips 66 for using the Fuel Forward app. Plus, get an extra 5 cents off per gallon with everyday savings offer. Restrictions apply. Kansas City area only.
Yeah, it's this could be a fun week in KC. One, there's just a ton going on, but if the weather checks out the way it looks like it's going to for much of the week, when you've got now even a couple extra fan bases maybe making their way with the expanded conference for this year, we know Iowa State fans travel. You know, KU and K-State's going to be represented. It's a lot of fun, as you all know if you haven't experienced it before, to be down around Power and Light and T-Mobile Center, and it's going to be a fun week here in KC. It's one of the reasons why when we talk about the Big 12 and realignment and other than the rivalry stuff, why does it matter if the Big 12 were to not stand where it stands now? Because you lose events like this. I mean, it's a huge event for Kansas City. The women's tournament's already been going on this past weekend.
And had great attendance.
They have, I think, records. I don't know if it was record setting, but the most since 2013 or something like that. So, no, it's very, very important. All right. We mentioned during What's Trending some of the moves that have happened today. We already got you caught up on most of them. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. Do the Chiefs do anything today? Remember, it's just the legal tampering period. Nothing. They don't have to sign anybody. Nate Taylor joined us earlier and said, well, they're going to be contacting maybe a wide receiver, maybe a couple tackles today. I don't know if we're going to be saying, hey, at 4 o'clock this afternoon that there's suddenly a deal done, but do you think they get on the board today? And what would now be the number one priority for you guys, knowing that Chris Jones is taken care of? He's not going anywhere, so you feel a lot better about Karlaftis having Chris Jones. Doesn't mean they can't make some other defensive lineman signing or draft somebody, but what's the next step for you in free agency? We can talk Sneed later, but in free agency.
I'm going to guess that wide receiver is the next person they talk to, because while they're not going to be in what Gold we would normally deem the day one signings at wide receiver, I'm not sure there are many day one signings at wide receiver. They're all day two guys, which means they'll go in day one. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They're B list receivers, not A list. That's what free agency usually is.
Pittman's not. But sometimes there's A list Greenard to me, right? He's a 12.5 sack guy. He's a 26-year-old defensive end. That's an A-list level free agent who's available to you. Or even if Michael Pittman had come available.
Well, yeah, Michael Pittman and Mike Evans, those are eight. That's what I guess is my
But
point.
those guys are gone. And wide receiver, it seems like it happens less. Those guys are via the trade market. Like if you're a team looking to trade for T. Higgins, I'm going to guess that wide receiver. We maybe start hearing a little bit on that end where who it is they've contacted and who it is they're targeting. We haven't heard that yet, but I would like all the names we hear just from like people are like, well, these guys could be a good.
Well, they're
fit.
any of
These
the
guys
top.
could help.
They're any of the top wide receivers that are going to be available. You know, it's the Hollywood Browns, the Gabe Davises, the Darnell Moonies, the Curtis Samuels. Those are the type of names. Now, when we had Nate on, he kind of like the way he was kind of talking a little bit. It sounded like maybe it's a name a name that nobody's really talking about. Like warning everybody.
I tried to get Nate to tell me via text. He's
busy. He's also very busy.
Well, he could just tell me secretly, and then I could I promise I won't say it on air. He probably didn't trust me, which is fair.
So, I mean, that tells me that it also makes me not feel better, but the Calvin Ridley thing just doesn't make sense. I was on with CDOT yesterday. He was on doing his national radio show, and he mentioned that he wants Calvin Ridley. He thinks Calvin Ridley is a good fit, and you and I have talked about this. I get why Calvin Ridley is intriguing. I just don't actually think he is a good fit in Kansas City based off of what Rashee Rice is now as a wide receiver and the route tree that you're asking him to run and the similarities that exist. I don't know if you're really actually expanding on what your offense can be versus actually just limiting what they both are capable of doing. So that's why Calvin Ridley, unless suddenly the market's way less than what we thought, he doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I actually think left tackle is the market that I would want the Chiefs to be in. Again, I know last year they just spent a big bunch of money on right tackle. We thought at the time left tackle. Juwan, literally at the time.
It could be left tackle. Yeah, that's what they were talking about.
So that's an area other than, a lower tier wide receiver. I think tackle. I don't know if it's necessarily Tyron Smith, who might be the highest paid tackle now, other than the extension that Deion Dawkins got today. And talking about in this market, highest paid, not in the NFL, but just in this free agency market. I would be looking at a left tackle. I really believe in a long-term solution at left tackle for my franchise quarterback, and that does give you more flexibility with what you can do, I think, at guard position and center long-term. If all of a sudden you have a left tackle you feel great about over the next 3 years, maybe it changes what you feel like you have to do with Trey Smith or Creed Humphrey, or it alleviates some of the pressure of having Jawan Taylor at right tackle.
Sure.
Yeah, just because you may have signed a bad contract with Jawan Taylor that on March 15th becomes guaranteed for another year on top of it, doesn't mean you shouldn't invest at the other tackle. Like, we don't want to screw up again. No, you can still build off of that.
By the time you can get out of the Jawan Taylor deal, then the big money kicks in for the other guy. Yeah, I understand that notion. I'm just still wondering, like, where are you going cheap? Let's just be honest. At some position, somewhere, you're going to have to go cheap. Last year, it ended up being wide receiver. I don't think they're going to, between draft picks and free agency, I don't think that's the one that they spend no money on, right? We already know they're not going cheap on defensive line. They gave Chris Jones an absolute mountain of cash, so we're good there. So where is it they're going? And for me, it's line. Mostly because they haven't gone cheap anywhere else. Joe Thuney's not anymore, but at the time they paid him was the highest paid left guard in football. And they've spent a premium pick at center, and I think we'll pay either him or Trey Smith, and they spent a bunch of money at right tackle. Can you not that you can't just does it financially make sense for this season, not ever, for this season, put more resources into the offensive line when last year you paid Donovan Smith peanuts and your offensive line play was really good. Your wide receiver play wasn't good. Your offensive line play was top 5 to 7 in the NFL, even with Donovan Smith at left tackle. You went cheap and it worked, not wide receiver where you went cheap and it didn't, right? That's why I think wide receiver is more likely to be where the money goes. I also think veteran running back could come off the board over the next couple of days for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm in no rush for that, though. I think, look, let Pollard and Swift and Barkley and Henry go off the board. Those guys are going to get what I think will be overpays for some teams that have rookie QB contracts or they're just more desperate. You have Isaiah Pacheco, I think, good Isaiah Pacheco for one more year, where he is still a dominant, going to run through a brick wall. Isaiah Pacheco, I think you can get another year of that dude.
I think most of it. I'm 70% sure I can get this year.
But with McKinnon and Clyde both likely out of the picture, of course you're going to need, there's a chance Pacheco misses a game or whatever. You need to have an option behind him. But I, again, don't need to be paying $6 to $8 million a year, which is what Tony Pollard and some of these other guys are getting. I'm more interested to be in the $2 to $5 million a year market for my number 2 back that is probably more of a pass catching back. That's where I know people will bring up Eckler. Unless he wants to take even less money than what I think he can get elsewhere, that one is not necessarily the direction I would go. I told you if
I don't
you
like
want
where the numbers are coming in at running back yet. They're coming in a little high, aren't they?
high at the top, yeah. I mean, we'll see what Josh Jacobs' deal looks like somewhere. But, yeah, so far, Swift. I mean, Swift's a pretty good contract that he ended up getting from Chicago.
Almost the same deal, although the guarantees will probably be different once they shake out.
And like later on in the offseason, I wonder if you can get someone like J.K. Dobbins who can't stay healthy, but he's also a flyer you take. But then you also pair him with somebody else. That would be intriguing to me. I'm just really steadfast kind of on not paying a bunch of money to have a running back that's going to get less than 50% of my touches.
No, I wouldn't do that. And what you're describing is essentially my plan at tackle, Gold, which is I'll take the chance on the injured guy because so what?
Yeah, I just think tackle's way more important, though. That's the only thing.
Of course it is.
Like, that's the problem. I don't want to go cheap there.
Of course it's more important. Look, I would prefer not to go cheap there, but I also understand that, like you and I, we've had this conversation a lot of times, and I always think it's kind of like a important like listener reminder. Anytime these off seasons go and you're like, oh, why didn't they get – because like the Michael Pittman deal. Look, he didn't become a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
But would I have given that deal? Yeah.
3 for $71?
Yeah. I'd happily paid that price, right? Sure. Sounds good to me. By the time some of these things shake out, sometimes you're like, whew, God, are you sure that's not the deal? And, it's important that you can't build a perfect roster. They're going to be weak somewhere. So let's predict right now as we're looking through free agency. Where do you think the Chiefs roster is going to be the weakest? It's not quarterback. It's square there.
Mm-hmm.
I automatically don't think it's running back just based on Pacheco and they'll get some other veteran. Okay, so we're good. Defensive line, right? They might have some bigger depth issues than they've had in a while, so maybe that's one. Offensive left tackle, that could be two. Maybe if you entertain the trade that we just talked about. I feel really good about the corners even if Sneed is gone. And the safeties right now look exactly the same. So
championship
right
roster.
now, unfortunately,
Yeah,
it's offensive line or defensive line where they're going to have to try to find the Charles Omenihu bargain bin or the David Bakhtiari bargain bin. They're going to have to find somebody and cross their fingers that they get it right.
Because of what they could pick up draft capital-wise in a Sneed trade, let's say it's an extra 6 and extra second, I'm sorry. Not a sixth, an extra second-round pick. So, okay, then you've got a couple of second-round picks now. You still have your pick at 32. That's why I would not, as much as we've discussed receiver, knowing now who's available, and if they end up following the same thought that I am on Ridley or not, we'll find out. Maybe I'll be completely off on that. And it's not Ridley, and they sign someone further down the board, if you will, then that could be the position where people will say they're going cheap in free agency, but maybe they spend 2 high-level picks again on wide receiver. I'm fine with that approach too.
Same.
Like I don't. It's funny. Like you don't want to just give out money to.
Picks doesn't mean cheap, not money.
Yeah, and like if you don't like the wide receiver class, like if you're just saying, well, we had a bad wide receiver room. Well, we have to spend money in free agency. No, you don't. Like if you don't need to overpay for guys that you really don't think are a huge upgrade. I want them to sign a wide receiver or two, but I also don't think it means that is them being cheap. Does that make sense? Like they could sign, keep Mooney or Curtis Samuel. Let's view it as the lower end deals
and then
of
take
the
a
group.
First-round pick?
Go take a first round or second round pick if you got 2 of them.
That's putting a lot of resources.
Absolutely. That's what we're asking for. I think putting resources into wide receiver. It doesn't have to be the best guy on the board because right now the best guy on the board, I don't think is a fit, but most people would rank out Calvin Ridley and then Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood Brown's a much better fit than Calvin Ridley, but yeah, they might not spend either. If you're looking for where Sneed might go, Jeremy Fowler, when reporting on the Jonathan Grenard deal, he said the Vikings have also shown interest in Christian Wilkins and have inquired to the Chiefs on corner L'Jarius Sneed.
Well, one wide receiver we can move off the board for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is from Ian Rappaport. The Jacksonville Jaguars signing Bills wide receiver Gabe Davis to a 3-year deal. So we'll get the details on the dollar amount coming up, I'm sure, in the next couple of minutes. But Gabe Davis, cross him off the list. It narrows now. No Gabe Davis, which I'm happy about, actually.
I seem to like Gabe Davis better than others.
I know. That's not just because he's not signing here and it's easy to be like, oh, I'm glad he's not here. No, that's just been where I'm at. I know we've pulled up. He basically would be a 600-yard receiver.
No,
that's fine.
Whoa. That's way underselling Gabe Davis. This is
your guy.
This is why we keep getting in a fight about Gabe Davis. For the longest time, you were yelling at me for calling MVS not a 700-yard receiver, even though he had never had 700 yards in his entire life. And now you're out here saying Gabe Davis is a 600-yard receiver, and he's got 836 and 746 over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, and 549.
And 7 touchdowns even the previous 2 years.
And 549 and 599. So, I mean, let's not act like he's averaging 800 yards now a season either.
But
he's better than
MVS
MVS
the last 2
at least.
seasons he is. He's an 800-yard, 7-touchdown receiver the last 2 seasons. I think call him a 700-yard receiver.
Yeah, I'm curious what the dollar amount is and see if you still like it once we see the dollar amount.
I might not like it once I see the dollar amount. I'll be honest.
It'll give us an idea where the market's at. I know that was your guy. I get it. That was the guy you kind of focused in on a little bit.
People dismissed him a little too quick.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be fascinated to see what he does in Jacksonville because they're going to lose Calvin Ridley, maybe DJ Chark. And so they decided that it's more worthwhile bringing in Gabe Davis than trying to get a deal worked out with Calvin Ridley.
Somebody too, I'll say that.
Like that's what's funny to me. Like Calvin Ridley's a free agent, so he's going to go get paid, and he's a better player, we all know, than Gabe Davis. But at the same time, if you're the Jags, would you have rather had Gabe Davis or Calvin Ridley on your team? Now it's not apples to apples financially, but that's kind of interesting. Trevor Lawrence, they got worse at wide receiver. They just did. I mean, you were going to lose Calvin Ridley. Now, losing
so how
Calvin
Ridley,
Mac
Jones takes the starting job? That's the real question, you know?
Oh, my gosh.
Come on, I don't actually think that. He's just there to be a backup.
I think part of the Gabe Davis thing, Cody, and where I'm at, and I wonder if this is where fans are at. Like, I think some of it is fans just don't like. I'm just not also a huge fan of the player to begin with.
Sure.
Right. I mean, I think that's part of the thought process from a lot of people.
I'm not blown away with Gabe Davis as a player, but to me, he was a scheme fit for what the Chiefs did and a deep threat they desperately needed. And he has been a far more productive player than the version of Gabe Davis they just had in Building and MVS. Way more touchdowns, way more yards in his NFL career over the first 4 years than MVS ever had in any 4-year run. To me, he was like he's 15% better than MVS. If the money was right, I would have been interested in that deal.
Yeah.
Although I'm like, every time we get this at the text line, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, doesn't matter. Anywhere we stream or look at people, no one in Kansas City thought Gabe Davis should have gone to the Chiefs but me. Not a single person on the planet. I was on an island. So I get it. It was an unpopular opinion.
So the Jags, we haven't seen the dollar amount yet. So the Jags will have Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis as their top 2 wide receivers, and then Evan Ingram, and then Evan Ingram is still the tight end right down there. While we were talking about this real quick, not that this was surprising, but the Chiefs have made the extension of Chris Jones official. Tweeting out moments ago, the CEO is staying home. Chris Jones now officially is with the Chiefs on a new 5-year deal.
Real quick question. Is that his nickname?
He's the CEO of Sack Nation. He's the CEO of Sack Nation. I'm guessing that's what they're going for.
Okay.
I'm just telling you. I think that's what they're going for, Cody.
Look,
he's the CEO of Sack Nation.
I cover this team all the time. I watch so much Chiefs stuff kind of infinitely. We do 20 hours of sports talk radio. And I just had to ask real quick, is that his nickname?
He's tweeted it before. You've seen him tweet out like Sack Nation, baby, and he's kind of viewed as the CEO of it.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, I'm like 90% sure that's what they mean.
I was a little bit worried that this was like the, remember when we looked at Patrick Mahomes ones on Pro Football Reference? On Pro Football Reference, they put like the nicknames of any given player. And some of the nicknames they put on there are just objectively not a nickname. Patrick Mahomes has never been called Magic Man.
I know, yeah.
Or the musician, or the gunslinger. No one's ever called him that. And then when you said the CEO is back, and I'm like, is that a thing we were saying? Is that? I don't remember any of us saying that. Maybe on
Sack
Twitter,
Nation, man. He gets a sack. You get a Big Mac the next day. That's why. It's all Chris Jones, baby. It's all because of him.
Just asking.
What's your guess on the dollar amount, by the way? For Gabe, going back to the wide receiver market.
I'm going to guess, so Kendrick Bourne just got $11 million.
Yeah, and then we just saw, what's his name? Michael Pittman, 3 for 71. He's not Michael Pittman.
I'm going to guess 3 for 50?
To give you a...
No. 3 for 45, 15 a year?
To give you a gauge on it, his projected was 1 year, $12 million average. So it would be 3 year, 36-ish is what...
And the first 2 guaranteed?
I mean, that makes sense.
I'm thinking like
3 for 40?
3 for 45 is my guess. Bourne came in high too, by the way, based on projections. They had him at a $7 million.
The first wave always, quote unquote, first wave always are, you're overpaid.
Probably
I mean, just
40, 45 then, yeah. 15 a year, which is...
We'll see. Obviously, the numbers aren't out yet, but...
Yeah.
Look, they need weapons. Like, they had to put more things. And Gabe Davis, this is not MVS's thing. We talked about this with other McCole Hardman, right? This is always McCole Hardman's comment. say whatever you want about Gabe Davis. One thing he does do well is get in the end zone. And if you're Trevor Lawrence and you're that offense that has failed to be successful inside the red zone consistently, getting somebody who can at least get in the end zone obviously means a little bit of something to them. That was always why you and I liked the McColl midseason trade was, well, if there's one thing,
Gabe Davis finds the end zone. I just think game in and game out, he's a little inconsistent.
Wildly
inconsistent. That is my biggest
thing. That's why
thing.
I said he's like 15% better MVS.
Yeah, I just
also inconsistent.
I don't know if he's showing up every week, and that's a concern to me.
He's not.
Yeah,
like I won't even say I'm not sure.
That's why I wasn't interested. Like
he'll give you 0 for 2 weeks, but then give you 120 and 2 touchdowns in the third game.
Yeah, there would be a big time, Thursday night game, and he's on national TV, and he'll have 7 catches, 2 touchdowns, and $150. But then for 3 new kickoffs in a row, he's going to have 25 yards. And that's why he's not a 1,000-yard receiver, and it's why he's a 725-yard receiver on average, Cody, or something like that.
Okay, look, I'm offended by this because not even because I care, but because of how offended you got that I said you cannot call MVS a 700-yard receiver, seeing how he had never obtained that yardage total in his life. Now you're just dismissing Gabe Davis for no reason. He didn't do anything.
Well, that last comment was just because I was poking the bear on that.
Christian Wilkins to the Raiders.
Okay. Big time money.
4-year, $110 million deal, 84 and a quarter and 3/4 guaranteed. So
okay. So that's an idea. We were wondering, okay, if the Chiefs would not have been able to get a big time deal signed with Chris Jones. Fortunately, they did. He hits the open market. What were the other Chiefs targets, right? We mentioned Christian Wilkins would be somebody. Christian Wilkins, as a free agent, getting 4 years, $110 million, 84.7 guaranteed. Massive deal. Wilkins is also
27.5 average.
Also say that if
Chris Wilkins a couple years younger too, right?
Assuming
he's 26. Or no, he's 28. I'm sorry.
Depending on, I'll say that just as long as Max Crosby stays there, that's a really good defensive line.
Well, and they just drafted the kid out of Texas Tech, Tyree Wilson or whatever his name is.
Yeah, that's a really good defensive line. I mean, they don't mean anything. Their quarterback's Adrian or
Aiden O'Connell.
Aiden O'Connell. So
yeah, I mean, there's rumors that if the Falcons fell through that, they'd be interested in Kirk Cousins, but we shall see. But that's a big-time deal for Christian Wilkins. Well-deserved. It's a good signing for the Raiders. It's just, until they get a quarterback, not really concerned. But they're Max Crosby, pain in the ass for the Chiefs' offensive line, and that'll be an even tougher defensive front to deal with for the Chiefs going forward. But
do they need another tackle more now that they're seeing that defensive line? Maybe everyone realized they can't out-quarterback the Chiefs, so they should just try to hit the quarterback more. They probably watched Chris Jones wreck games for a while from the interior. Thought that'd be cool.
If Tyree Wilson ends up being what they thought he was out of Texas Tech, and they have Wilkins, Crosby, and Wilson, that's really, really impressive on the front. It's just, I still think the way they're building the Raiders roster, I don't know if that's how you build a winner in 2024. Like, it seems like they're gonna we're gonna not pass the football, we're gonna run, and we're just gonna play defense. I just don't know how realistic that is across an entire season. Can you win a game? A couple games doing that? Absolutely. It's why they beat the Chiefs.
Can you win a few more games than last year? Yeah, maybe.
It'd be interesting, but that's another big-time signing. We're only 90 minutes into the legal tampering period, and we have already got huge deals being signed across the league. We'll get you caught up on those and talk about the entire AFC West and why it could take a few more years for them to actually recover from past mistakes.
Cody and Gold. Watch the show on YouTube by subscribing to the @610 Sports KC channel. 610 Sports Radio.
The Other Place now has 4 great Kansas City locations: Shawnee, Olathe, downtown Overland Park, and the brand new one in Mission. It has a one-of-a-kind game day experience with enough big screens that you'll never miss a minute of March basketball from the Big 12 to the NCAA. Did I mention dine-in-only great daily food and beer specials? So make The Other Place your March basketball headquarters. The Other Place, Shawnee, Olathe, downtown Overland Park, your home for March basketball. TheOtherPlace.com. That's TheOtherPlace.com.
You're looking at your workplace parking lot and you're realizing, boy, did we let this thing get out of control. Who can fix it? Well, how about a company that, just like yours, has been working in the Kansas City area, serving the local area for 30 years. That's right. They're celebrating their 30th anniversary this year. That's GAN Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. You call GAN to make sure your project gets done right and gets done under one roof. They'll handle it all. Crumbling curbs, done. Fading striping, done. You need to put in new ADA ramps, done. Bumper blocks, drainage. Obviously, the concrete and the asphalt work and the parking lot paving itself, they've got you covered there, but it doesn't matter what you need for your parking lot. They can take care of the project from the very beginning until the very end. One less thing on your plate so that you can just sign up, get the price you need, and then figure out how to get the project done. They'll obviously give you a chance to give you, a free option to get a price estimate on the project for you, so you can make sure this project is done right. And again, work with a local company who's been in the business for 30 years in the Kansas City area. They're a company I trust and work with all the time across multiple platforms because I know the people who work there. I went to go speak at their conference a couple of weeks ago, and I trust the work that they do. Go to GannAsphalt.com to check out more of their work and reviews, or give them a call, 816-688-3512.
The Chiefs, the Royals, and this community all rise together no matter what comes our way. We've worked, battled, and overcome together.
They've done it! The Royals are World Series champions!
Kansas City wins the game! Champions of Super Bowl 58!
Now we can keep it going. Vote yes on question 1 to keep the Chiefs and Royals in Jackson County with a better deal. Over $1 billion in private investment with real benefits for every community. Growing small businesses, creating good-paying jobs with no new taxes. Vote yes on question 1 on April 2nd to keep the Chiefs and Royals here in Jackson County. Let's keep it going. Paid for by the committee to keep the Chiefs and Royals in Jackson County. Whitney Beaver, Treasurer.
You give your all to your team. From the time you put into watching the game to the miles you travel to make it there. So to give back to Big 12 fans, you can now save 12 cents a gallon with the Fuel Forward app from March 7th through the 17th. Because you fuel the game, but we fuel you.
Phillips 66, title sponsor of the Phillips 66 Big 12 Basketball Championships. No minimum purchase required. Can be combined with other offers.
Choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Paid for simulated client portrayal.
I'm attorney Mike DePasquale. No matter how you've been injured, my law firm is here to help.
Mike and his team handle all kinds of cases.
Car and truck wrecks, workers' comp claims,
slip and fall accidents, product liability, any kind of case. Mike's got this.
No matter what kind of injury case you have, I promise we can help. Call me. I've got this.
Mike's got this. All you need to know. 816-888-7500. Mike's got this.
If you're like most people, you've had your fair share of financial questions. Questions like, can I afford my son's travel hockey team? What if my daughter doesn't get that soccer scholarship? Will I be able to enjoy golf in retirement? At Empower, we know these questions can be stressful. We're here to help answer your what ifs and empower what's next. Join 18 million Americans and take control of your financial future. Start today at empower.com. Sponsored by Empower Personal Wealth.
COVID-19 has cast a spotlight on the stark inequalities that drive poverty. The poorest communities in the U.S. and around the world are suffering the most. Oxfam believes we can put systems in place to protect health and livelihoods in the future if we work together with dignity and compassion. Learn how you can help offer safety to the most vulnerable and fight for a more resilient future at oxfamamerica.org. Sponsored by Oxfam America.
Old Man Winter here. One more snowstorm and...
Not a chance, Mr. Winter. It's spring.
It's also time for the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event, where you can get great deals on all our award-winning Hyundai models, all backed by America's best warranty. Hurry in. These deals won't last at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Now get 0% APR or up to $1,500 bonus cash on the Hyundai Tucson. Now, during the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Offers end soon. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
Occupied.
Hurry up.
Go away. I'm enjoying my hot shower.
Yeah, we'd all like to. Hot water hog.
That's it. Family meeting. We can all enjoy long, steaming, hot showers. Even the last in line, which it seems is always me. But go ahead. Have that imaginary argument of what you should have said. Take your time. With our new high-efficiency Navien tankless water heater, I'll never take a cold shower again. Visit tanklessmadesimple.com to learn more.
Tired Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
Hi, I'm Kamiko, the founder of Miko's Hot Chicken. When we started our family restaurant, we were also raising a family. But let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Our Chase Inc. card was there to reward us on all of our business needs. Now we have a thriving location, and we're hungry for more.
With the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited card, you can earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for business. Make more with yours. Real business owners compensated for their participation. Cards issued by JPMorgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC. Subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Chiefs coverage brought to you by Max Motors. 9 major vehicle brands to choose from. MaxMotors.com. Going on at all Max Ford locations.
Love it or trade it now.
0% for 72 months on new 2023 Ford F-150s in stock.
Pick your model, choose your color.
In Harrisonville, Manhattan, Richmond, Butler, and Nevada.
Hurry in while selection is best.
With approved credit expires March 31st, 24.
Get to the random question of the day here in about 10 minutes or so. Busy day in the NFL. Legal tampering window's been open up for over 90 minutes, and the biggest deal that has been signed was that Christian Wilkins deal in the last couple of minutes. We'll get back to that in a second and what that says about what the market could have looked like for Chris Jones if he did not sign with the Chiefs. Also, Matt Derrick during the break over at Chiefs Digest reporting that the Chiefs did re-sign 4 exclusive rights free agents, so keep that in mind. Najee Johnson, Cole Christensen, Mike Caliendo, and defensive end Malik Herring all will be back in 2024, according to Matt Derrick. Again, they had exclusive rights, so that's not all that surprising.
Numbers up for Gabe Davis, too.
Okay, so Gabe Davis there. Does I see it in front of me? Diana Rossini, Diana Rossini, Jags, 3 years, $39 million with incentives that could go to $50. So it's 3 for $39. If he's great, 3 for $50.
So we were right in the range.
So actually less, though. It was less than we thought, right?
No, the PFF estimate said 12 a year, so 36. Okay. I said between 40 and 45. $39 million with a chance to go to 50 if he performs well. I don't think that's way overpaying for Gabe Davis. The one thing I would say about that was pointed out by Mike Renner over Pro Football Focus is, well, maybe 1,000 yards or things he hasn't done.
Touchdowns.
The last time we said the Jags overpaid for a receiver, it turned out pretty good, actually.
Kirk actually played really well.
Yeah.
But that's the thing still about it. Mike Renner pointed this out about the Jags and why I don't take them serious as competition for the Chiefs still. Not just because they haven't been, but because they have had 16 picks in the top 150 since drafting Trevor Lawrence. 0 wide receivers taken with those picks. The hell do you keep paying free agents? Just draft somebody. The wide receivers are good. Pair him up with his star. Try to go find his guy. I've always made that argument. Patrick Mahomes, they haven't taken a bunch of high picks. They've used second rounders, though. And they've had Travis Kelce, so they always had their guy to go with it. The other thing on the deal that we just talked about, Christian Wilkins, I think it was pointed out by James Palmer, and you had pointed out in the break. Boy, they were serious about Chris Jones, the Raiders, because they gave $84.5 million guaranteed. Reminder, it was like $95 for the first 3 years for Chris Jones.
95.3, yeah.
And the guarantees. So they got close-ish. They got to like 90% of the guarantees with Christian Wilkins, and they went after the direct position. Those reports of, watch out for the Raiders if the Chiefs don't bring back Chris Jones were very real. Yeah, they would have paid Chris Jones whatever.
Raiders were serious about adding to Max Crosby and Wilson and going out and getting a stud defensive lineman. And so, they settled for Christian Wilkins. Not a bad settlement. I mean, Christian Wilkins is a hell of a football player, but that was pretty clear that one way or the other, they were going to land a top defensive lineman. And that's a ton of money now invested on the defensive line for the Raiders. Like, that's the thing. They got basically, if you look at how their money is spread out, they're not paying a quarterback anything right now. We know that, but they don't have one. And they got all this money on the defensive line. They got a great receiver, Devontae Adams, they're spending a ton of money on. Other than that, they're not spending money in a ton of other areas, but they also don't have what actually matters. It's
the quarterback.
Like, yes, they're going to get after Patrick Mahomes. Like, Max Crosby's always been a pain in the rear anyway. But until they get a quarterback, I don't know how much I'm all that concerned about this particular move. Now, do the Raiders sort of shock everybody and Kirk Cousins goes there instead of the Falcons? Okay, we're having a different conversation at that point. But if they're just drafting, a Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy, I'm not going to be all that concerned.
No. I mean, look, this might be their only path to win. You and I just talked about this at quarterback. Everybody can't have a good one. Some teams are going to have a bad quarterback. Maybe they've just accepted their fate. In the quarterback department, they're like, what's our path to win? Well, Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins is probably a better plan than bring in no-name quarterback to try to be better than Aiden O'Connell. If you want to take one more year to Aiden O'Connell, give him an actual starter job for the entire year and find out, fine. Oof. It's not going to go anywhere, but good luck.
I mean, can you sell that to fans? I know it's Vegas, but...
Well, you've always said this. Like, we were talking about, not getting fired. Selling stuff to fans doesn't matter. Trying to keep your job is all that matters.
Yeah, but Aiden O'Connell's not how I'm keeping my job.
Actually, no, having an elite defense is how he's planning on keeping his job.
Yeah, I mean,
the quarterback is not how he's planning on keeping his job.
I just think in the NFL, I mean, it's one thing to have a veteran quarterback come in where he can't win you a Super Bowl, and you're like, oh yeah, we can at least win X amount of games. It's another thing to go like Aiden O'Connell. Like last year, we would agree. The fact that they found a way to even win, what was it, 8 was the final number, 7, 8, whatever.
Yep.
I mean, it took
everything.
It took the win on Christmas Day against the Chiefs, where they had 2 defensive scores in 7 seconds, and they won a game where their quarterback didn't throw a pass for 3 quarters. I mean, that's not realistic.
God, how did that? Oh my God.
We can laugh more about it now because the Chiefs won a Super Bowl in their building.
But that game's never going to make any sense. Where you're like, I'm sorry. You're trying to tell me that the team who's won back-to-back Super Bowls lost a game against a mediocre Raiders team in which the starting quarterback didn't complete a pass after the first quarter? What? That game's never going to make any sense to me. And obviously, now I don't care. It was pretty gross at the time. That was one of those, I was at family Christmas, and we had the game on for a while, and Gold, by the time it got uglier and uglier, you're like, oh my God. I want to watch this game less and less every single second it's on TV. Ugh.
Diana Rossini also following up on that report around the Christian Wilkins deal, saying that during the combine in Indianapolis, a lot of people there thought Wilkins was only going to get $21 to $23 million a year. He got way more.
27.5.
24 and a half.
Got way more. So the market was much better for the player than everybody thought. In this case, Christian Wilkins. I do think Chris Jones' deal getting done and what Chris Jones' deal was had some play into what Christian Wilkins ultimately got in Las Vegas on a massive, massive deal. If you're just joining us today on the show, it's legal tampering day in the NFL. That's why all these moves are happening. None of them are technically official free agent-wise until the league year on Wednesday. What is official today, the Chiefs did make the 5-year extension with Chris Jones official. Also, some other deals happening. Tony Pollard, former Cowboys running back, now with the Tennessee Titans on a 3-year deal. DeAndre Swift, the former Eagles running back, signing a 3-year deal reportedly with the Chicago Bears. Deion Dawkins, who teased everybody by saying he was leaving the Buffalo Bills, he reportedly has signed a 3-year extension to stay as the left tackle for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Those are just some of the deals, not to mention, looks like now Dorrance Armstrong, a free agent defensive tackle, if you're looking for depth. He's close to finalizing a deal with the Washington Commanders, according to Jordan Schultz.
God, just deals moving left and right. This is one of the better sports days of the year, right? I could have just asked
these 2 days. Yeah, these 2 days are awesome.
So I could have just asked, and we can do the random question in a minute, but, an easy random question would be what's your favorite, sports calendar day that isn't a traditional one, right? Not Super Bowl Sunday, not the first round of the NCAA tournament. The, ancillary days where technically there's no games being played, but you're still this is a great day. NBA trade deadline day. Right up on the look, maybe not here, but for a lot of people because NBA trade deadline is nuts. These first couple of days of legal tampering for the NFL are phenomenal.
So this is why NFL's king, because you're right. There's no games being played, but we're all glued to social media because, frankly, that's where the news comes out on, and we're fascinated in all the hypotheticals and speculation on what one moves means. We all think someone's getting overpaid and what was a bad trade, what's a great trade. You're upset because your team didn't sign a guy. It's awesome. It is an incredible time. And it's why the league is fantastic. All right, Drew, you got something? You were just telling me. I couldn't talk. Sorry.
Chris Jones, the Chiefs just posted a video on social media from the very Guy they just re-signed.
Inked
Chris Jones.
officially.
Okay.
Hey guys, it's Chris Jones here. Wrapping up. We got 5 more years of greatness. I will be returning to Chief. This is everything we dreamed about, talked about. Now some more Super Bowl rings, man. Let's go.
What does he sound so calm about it? Oh man,
probably just riding the high.
Retiring to Chiefs.
Riding the high of signing that deal. But yeah, he's got a chance.
Sign a piece of paper that says you might earn $150 million. Oh, that'd be pretty sweet. And definitely will earn $100 million, pretty much. I feel pretty good, Gold. What's the biggest piece of paper you've ever signed that said you'll get this amount of money?
Yeah, no kidding.
Was it $100 million?
Yeah, it was really close to that, actually.
You'd already have quit.
It was
right at the
very,
end of
very
making
close.
that, you'd never hear from me again. I'd just disappear. Okay, that's Chris Jones. We expect probably a press conference, maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
The next couple of days, something like that.
Yeah. You don't give someone that amount of money and not hold a press conference. I'll put it that way.
Do you guys think he's actually going to retire, Chief?
Now, we're going to get into the legacy. I think he will now with this deal. Because but we'll talk more about his legacy in the 1 o'clock hour.
Let's get to the random question.
Random question.
For you, Gold. For you, Drew. Over the text line, 913-586-7610. Of course, if you follow us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, I can get your answers over there as well. All right, so question's pretty simple today. You know that this show embraces conspiracy theories, so we're back. Question I have for you today is, what's going on with Kate Middleton? What are your current guesses based on this? My
what
favorite
is going
working
on?
theory is hook hand.
Explain what's going on,
Okay.
because I've seen the photo, but explain exactly for everybody what the hell's going on.
If you haven't been paying attention, Kate Middleton is in the middle, Princess Kate is in the middle of a little bit of controversy. There was a press release from the Crown that said she was going in for a planned abdominal surgery with 2 weeks of healing time in there. Okay, vague. You don't have to give someone's all their personal details. Then, no one has seen or heard from her. Disappeared off the planet, no photos, no mess, nothing. So people were like, is she missing? Kind of like that leader of the Scientology. Like, where is she? Where is Kate Middleton? So then, to squash the rumors, they released a single photo of the family enjoying what is essentially British Mother's Day.
Okay.
But in the back of the photo, all the trees are green. Reminder, it's not the time for trees to be green. Her hands had been photoshopped. The kids' shirts had been everything's weird. And then the AP and several other news organizations put a kill order on the photo saying it has been manipulated too much to be in circulation. So now more rumors are flying. So what I want to know is what you think is happening. My current favorite theory is that she has a hook hand and that they don't want to reveal that yet until they're more ready to do this. That's the best one by far.
What?
What do you think's going on?
I just think that maybe she is still unwell. Like maybe something happened with the procedure. Maybe that
she's still like really sick.
Yeah, maybe something went wrong, and they're trying to figure out how to proceed going forward. And they thought for some reason that people would buy this. That's kind of where I'm at.
Nobody's showing up for public appearances.
Yeah.
Charles is missing stuff. Her husband's missing stuff. Nobody's showing up, and now they're just sending out these super doctored photos.
Yeah, not a smart decision to do the doctor photos, but I'm assuming it's something like that. I don't know, man. I did see this. I had to dive into it last night because I kept seeing people post this photo, and I'm like, why is everybody posting the same photo? And then you do look in like the cuffs of the sweater are
Think about
blurry.
how much money they have to Photoshop something nice. The monarchy's not poor, Gold. They couldn't afford a good Photoshop.
It was not good.
Too secret. They didn't want anybody with real power or knowledge to have the thing. Something's going on there. People keep saying that the palace is urging for privacy, and I'll just be honest with you. If you are a part of a royal monarchy, privacy's not what you're going to get. Gold? That's just accept a certain, like Patrick Mahomes has a certain amount of lack of privacy in his life, same with Travis Kelce or Taylor Swift. I'm sorry. If you're a king or a prince or a princess, you're just not going to get the kind of privacy you want in this situation. So instead, we have to guess.
I told you I can't stand the whole so the TV show on Netflix, The Crown is incredible. It's a great show. But in general, the actual royal family, the concept, all of it, I can't stand. I think it's the dumbest thing. I understand if I said that on the radio in the UK, I would be kicked off the air immediately. I would probably be stoned and jailed and imprisoned. But I think it's the dumbest thing ever. Like we pay for we commit taxpayer money to a lot of dumb bleep here in the United States. Theirs is even worse. They're supporting a family. They're just supporting one family, and we all, even from the U.S., pretend we care when they're having their own royal wedding. Why? It's the dumbest thing ever.
And that's what Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift getting married will be. It'll be our version of a royal wedding. And maybe over there, they'll be asking
I'll
us
care
the same
more
thing.
about that. It's in the United States. It's not. I don't care about the basically this figurehead thing that means nothing. They can't do anything. They're controlled from behind the scenes anyway.
She hasn't been seen in months, dude. Months. Every statement that gets released will be like, Kate said this. Have her say it out loud. With words.
Yeah, like a phone call or a video.
Literally anything.
Yeah.
Some proof of life. Have her holding up a newspaper with today's date on it. She hasn't been seen in months. You're not helping with I think she's probably like really unwell.
That's why. No, I think
it's probably
the procedure,
like a severe medical thing.
Unfortunately, I think something maybe went wrong with the procedure, and they don't know what to do. I don't know why you wouldn't just come out and tell people, hey, her procedure, unfortunately, she's dealing with a serious medical condition. Why is that so hard if that's actually what it is?
Privacy, I guess, huh?
Because maybe something gets
Well, they
screwed
don't
up
release
with
the
the family.
photo.
I don't know. Like if there's like a lineage thing.
Well, they've had
get
plenty of
screwed up.
controversy over the last couple of years.
Yeah, right.
This has been my feeling about the whole royal. I have family members that love watching the royal wedding and coronation, all this stuff. I just never had any interest. I do truly think it's the dumbest thing that in 2024.
It seems like most people on the text line agree with you.
Especially if, and again, if I lived in the UK, my opinion would probably be way different.
Of
but
course.
especially in the United States, I don't know why do we care?
It's because it's a novelty. Freak show stuff, dude. It's like looking. That's what it is. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, what universe are we living in that there's still like a king and a queen and they wear like, and you have to remember some of the images of the last couple of years, like in the middle, like height of COVID, and they were having like, recessions, right, in the UK like they were across the world. There was like a press conference where Prince Charles was like, we got to work on getting more money in the hands of people in the United Kingdom. He was sitting, and I want to remind you, he was sitting on a gold throne while he said that. Like a pure gold chair. It's like the most ridiculous thing. It's the freak show stuff of it. That's all.
Yeah. Well, again, I know they're
so
not.
You don't have any good conspiracy theories. You just think she's sick.
I really do.
Think
I think unfortunately she had a procedure for something more serious, or something unfortunately went wrong, and for whatever reason they don't want that to be out there yet, and they're deciding to doctor photos.
Okay.
That's what a couple people think is they're trying to body double her.
Yeah, there's a lot of people think it's a body double situation. They're looking for a Kate lookalike to replace her.
So where is she, though?
Dead in that scenario.
Well, why would she just announce? Why wouldn't they just say she's dead?
They don't want to announce that.
Maybe she's.
I don't know why, dude. It's a conspiracy.
I mean, by that, like the Queen died. They didn't try to act like the Queen was still alive.
Well, that would have been very hard. She's very old. She was very old.
I'm just having like
Kate Middleton's a young, and they've had a lot of controversy lately. Like Meghan Markle and her husband were like stepping aside from royalty.
They both suck too. They all honestly, they all suck. They all are terrible.
They've had a lot of controversy over the last 6 months. They're trying to keep things clean.
They all, the whole thing sucks. Like I just, what a waste. What a waste. That's the random question of the day. Let us know if we get an update on that in the next couple of days.
We'll do.
Be locked in. Some of us are locked into free agency. Others are locked into the royal family crap.
Look, we got to pay attention to free agency. I was thinking more about the Gabe Davis deal for a minute, and then I know we're going to talk more about L'Jarius Sneed. Not just as it relates to the Chiefs, but why that is like a market deal that makes sense. 3 for $39. The Chiefs gave MVS 3 for $30. It's just a market correction deal. They essentially paid him like he's MVS. 3 for $39 is we hope you get 800 yards and do okay for us. I don't know that there's anything outside of that number that is offensive if you're Jacksonville, other than the fact they don't seem to draft any wide receivers.
It's also hard to judge it until I see what's the Calvin Ridley deal look like, or what's the Darnell Mooney deal look like. Most likely less, but how much less? Or is this what the market is? I'll go back to two things that have happened. When you do shows on free agency day or legal tampering day, you do pick up on a couple things. And the one thing you probably recognize too, Cody, is A couple of years ago, we all thought Christian Kirk got way overpaid. It actually turned out to be a pretty good deal for the Jags. The other thing is, just 3 weeks ago, we were all like, wow, the cap went up more than we thought. So don't be surprised. I remember that day we said, so don't be surprised when certain players get even more money than you thought. And here, we're on that day today.
See, Christian Wilkins, who a month ago, they thought he might get $5 million a year less.
Yeah. So personally, we don't have to rehash the whole thing again, but in general, I am pleased that the Chiefs did not sign Gabe Davis. I was just a player I really wasn't interested in them signing.
Sure.
Do I think it's a horrific deal the Jags signed him to? No, not at all. I think it's a good deal for Gabe Davis as well. I'm just glad that I wouldn't have put my money towards that player, even if it means that they actually do sign someone that might be a little worse, but it's way cheaper. Like, I'm okay. I didn't think that deal made sense for what I'm going to get out of Gabe Davis. I wanted someone that is a little more consistent. I'm not saying that somebody else is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver and Gabe Davis is not. It's just that I don't think for that price, I want someone that's going to show up every week. A little bit more than what I thought they had, where they had Stephon Diggs still there. So, like, it's the same thing if you're saying, I'm not asking him to be the number one. Well, he wouldn't be the number one here either, but he had Stephon Diggs there, and I still feel like while the in stats look decent, I don't know if he showed up. And the MVS comparison is always fun because they are very similar because Gabe Davis drops a bleep ton of passes too. You know, I kind of done. Not that other receivers don't drop passes. I didn't want to bring in another free agent that has a history of drop passes.
I just thought he was essentially just like slightly better MVS, which for the price feels right. And look, I'll be honest. I've watched Gabe Davis play a lot more than I've watched some of the other free agent wide receivers. And look, I've tried to do my homework, but like one thing I'm not sure about is whether or not Darnell Mooney just doesn't show up for games. Or if, you know, like, for instance, that's just a good example of a player who, you know, reportedly maybe the Chiefs would have some interest on versus, or is he just, like, part of me is split because Gabe Davis is literally like, he'll either get 100 yards or 0. And Darnell Mooney, based on everything I'd looked up, is like, he'll just get you 40 yards every game. I'm not so sure I wouldn't just rather have 100 or 0. And just count on Travis Kelce and Andy Reid and these other guys to find the stuff in between. But, like, I understand.
Consistently be involved in my offense. And Darnell Mooney seems like maybe a realistic possibility. Heck, we're talking about Jaguars signing Gabe Davis. There's a chance maybe DJ Chark is the guy that ends up signing with the Chiefs when this is all said and done. And he's
reports are they're still interested in Calvin Ridley, the Jags. They're just going to go they just want to go,
Kirk
what if we had the most
Ridley
mediocre wide receiver room of all time and then try to put that together to make one really good one? That's their plan.
Well, there'd be very little excuse for Trevor Lawrence, though, if they end up actually having a receiver room of Kirk Ridley and Gabe Davis.
Couldn't even hold off a different rookie wide receiver or rookie quarterback last year. They fell way short of expectations. I'm riding off the Jags until they prove to be a part of the conversation again. They're not a serious.
Well, Trevor Lawrence took a step back.
Team for a while.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence took a step back. He did not have a good season at all. It was a year when everybody going in thought he was going to be one of the MVP favorites. Or were the sexy pick, and he ended up having a much different season than that. All right, up next, let's get back to the Chiefs. We know Chris Jones has his deal, so what does that mean for L'Jarius Sneed, and how will Chris Jones' legacy go down now that he has a chance to finish his career in Kansas City?
You're listening to Cody and Gold. Don't miss the Chiefs Red Half Hour every weekday starting at 11:30 on your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
Low testosterone affects many men today, even men as young as 30. But finding someone you can trust for quality low T treatment isn't so easy. This is Jeff, the CEO of Promenic Restorative Men's Health, and that's why I'm pleased to announce the opening of our second location of Heartland Men's Health right here in Independence, Missouri. Because as a Promenic affiliate, Heartland Men's Health has the experience and expertise to get you the right treatment for your particular medical situation. Heartland Men's Health is a leader in treating low testosterone. In fact, we've successfully treated thousands of men for low T and seen the amazing impacts low T treatments have. If you're like most men, you'll sleep better, have more energy and improve mental clarity, get better gains in the gym, and your sex drive will likely improve as well. So call us. Just $99 gets you a PSA and T test and a medical consult. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. That's heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 2 offices, Overland Park, Kansas, and our new office in Independence, Missouri.
Pass to Jalen Rhodes, dish to Kevin Garnett, or take it to the rim yourself for a dunk. Play BetMGM's Fast Break free-to-play game daily and get a B-ball reward if you score a basket. Simply access the Fast Break game in your BetMGM promotion section. Play the game and see if you win. Your prizes could include bonus bets or boost tokens for NBA and college basketball bets. There are endless ways to enjoy hoops with BetMGM. And the action on the court just got even more exciting with this daily chance to dish and swish. Go to your account today and every day throughout the season for the Fast Break free-to-play game. Take your shot and see if you score.
BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. Existing customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Let's talk garage doors. Your garage door. Is it too loud or letting cold and hot air in around the frame? Overhead Door Company of Kansas City will make it all better. In March only, they will perform their garage door tune-up and safety inspection for just $79. And just in March, that's just $79 for up to 3 garage doors and openers. You need this done once a year, so why not now? And for just $79. Schedule now at overheaddoorkc.com.
So I've been telling you about not needing contacts or glasses for quite some time now, thanks to DuraVision, thanks to a phone call that I finally made. I didn't put it off anymore. A free consultation at DuraVision, and you can schedule that on the phone at 913-491-3330 or go online to duravision.com. And I get asked about the cost of the LASIK procedure, and is it worth it financially as well? And what's really neat is if you go to Duri's website, duravision.com, they actually have a calculator you can customize to lay out the long-term expense that you have with glasses and contacts. So right now, if you go there and you think you're going to use contacts or glasses for another 15 years, you can select that. Annual cost of vision insurance, let's say it's $125. And an exam, another $125. Glasses, maybe $200. Contact lenses, $250. $100 for the contact lens solution. All of a sudden, it might be $12,000 you're going to spend over the next 15 years. So it ended up being a great financial decision as well. You can make that same decision by going to duravision.com or give them a call, 913-491-3330.
The best deals at the pump happen when you shop the aisles of Hy-Vee with help from the first Warn 5 weather team.
This is KCTV5 Chief Meteorologist Luke Doris. Watch KCTV5 Sunday night at 10 for our official high temperature.
Whatever it was on Sunday means you save on Monday with your Hy-Vee Perks card. If the high was 63 degrees, you save 63 cents a gallon when you spend at least $63.
Watch First Warn 5 weather on KCTV5 this Sunday at 10.
Hey, it's Kling. There are many reasons I love Hy-Vee, the great values, the selection, the service, and I love to rack up fuel savers. And you can as well. Shop Hy-Vee on Monday, earn a fuel discount equal to the high temperature on Sunday and the amount you spend. If the high is 68 degrees on Sunday, I'll save 68 cents per gallon when I spend $68 on Monday. Heat up the savings every Monday through April 29th only at Hy-Vee.
Must look up code 80007 at checkout or promo code HEATUP when shopping online. See store for details.
Picture this. It's Saturday morning and you're on your John Deere compact tractor. You're effortlessly breaking ground on your new landscaping project. Next, you're moving piles of rocks just by moving a lever. And now, you're enjoying the warmth of the sun as you clear brush across your pasture. We could keep trying to put you in the moment, but to really understand everything you can do with a John Deere compact tractor, you just have to get in the seat. Learn more at johndeere.com/get-in-the-seat or visit a dealer near you.
This March, Wendy's is fueling the madness with amazing deals on their hamburgers made with fresh, never frozen beef.
Like a juicy Dave's single for $1 and a fresh $2 Dave's double with in-app offer.
It's such a good deal, we wrote a little ditty about it.
Get it for $1. Dave Single, order in the app. Dave Single, get it for $1. Choose wisely, choose Wendy's official hamburger March Madness.
Limited time offer. Participating U.S. Wendy's. See offer details and redeem at Wendy's app. Account registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S. and Alaska.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-583-5795. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. there is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-583-5795. That's 800-583-5795.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Hey, it's Royals first baseman Vinny Pasquantino, and you're listening to 610 Sports Radio.
KCSP Kansas City, WDAF HD2 Liberty. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
1 o'clock hour here in Kansas City. Alex Gold, Cody Tapter, Nixon with you. It's Cody and Gold. We had a chance earlier to catch up with Nate Taylor of The Athletic. You'll hear that conversation again coming up around 1:35. We asked about the Chris Jones deal. Was he surprised? And what does it mean for L'Jarius Sneed, which is something we're going to get into here in a second. During the break, every time we go to break, there's always something. Even if some of them are minor moves, we'll just keep you guys up to date. It is legal tampering day in the NFL. Ian Rappaport is reporting that the Jags are signing former Packers safety Darnell Savage to a 3-year deal. So that's 2 signings for the Jags so far today. Gabe Davis and now safety Darnell Savage on that 3-year deal. Also, just some more details on a few things that have been happening today. Texans signing former Texans pass rusher Jonathan Grenard signing with the Vikings earlier today on a 4-year, $76 million deal. Includes $42 million guaranteed on that. So that's the latest couple of moves. And in the last minute or two, the Seahawks signing tight end Colby Parkinson, 3 years, $22.5 million, $15.5 million guaranteed. He signing with the Rams now. Sorry.
God, so many deals. And I guess I keep waiting for the next Chiefs one. Although they did officially announce that they've given Chris Jones a big stack of cash.
Pretty big deal. Yeah.
You think so?
Just a little, record setting. No big deal.
Do you think they can do something else, though? That one happened on Saturday, and now I'd like to scratch the itch of more players to break down for the Chiefs. That's
Patience, I think we've learned this a lot throughout the free agency windows. Like the first wave, like how often are you a player in the first wave? And
normally, if you are, you're a bad football team. The Raiders, the
ton
Jags,
of cap space, and that. Yeah, I mean, the big move that could happen next, maybe it's a L'Jarius Sneed trade, and that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about because of the Chris Jones deal. Does that change the timeline on a Sneed deal? We know L'Jarius Sneed on Wednesday, when the league year opens up, $19.8 million would be on the books. That is real. That'll count against the cap immediately.
They're currently over the cap.
They are. They've got to have some other restructures or a trade or something has to get them under by Wednesday. Okay, so Chris Jones in year one, we know, is actually only about a 7.3, not even $7.5 million cap hit. I don't think the Chris Jones deal getting done necessarily means like, oh, they got to trade him in the next 24 hours. I think it means like 90% sure that Sneed's getting traded, but we knew that weeks ago when we started to discuss the options. Hey, I'm good with trading Sneed as long as they bring back Chris Jones. Well, they brought back Chris Jones. I also think it makes sense to move on from Sneed for what you would have to pay him long term and perhaps the draft pick compensation. My only question is, do you need to do it now to free up enough space for Wednesday? And for other moves you want to make, or are you good? You have other moves you can solidify to free up space, and you want to wait closer to the draft to see if the cornerback market dries up and there's actually more value for Sneed closer to end of April when there's the draft going on.
I think that it still makes more sense to trade him now, not just because of the financial stuff, but that just shores that up, right? You don't have to worry about it. Cap number's gone, money's freed up, and you can go about your business without having to hit every single restructure button just yet. But no, I definitely think something's going to go down there soon. Another deal happen?
Yeah,
You're looking like another deal happened.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to distract too much, but the Packers expected to sign Josh Jacobs, running back Josh Jacobs. That's because they're expected to let both Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon maybe walk. So it's not like they're going to have Jacobs, Dillon, and Aaron Jones next year. But this, according to Ian Rappaport, Packers expected to sign Josh Jacobs. No word on the dollar amount yet, but that would be the third running back to sign today.
Who knew that running back?
Pollard signing with the Titans. DeAndre Swift to sign with the Bears, and then Packers, Josh Jacobs. We can get back to the Sneed conversation.
Also, Jets free agent Bryce Huff is signing a 3-year, $51 million deal with the Eagles. Going to replace some of their defensive line needs after Fletcher Cox retired as well. But moving forward, back to the Sneed thing, it makes more sense to me to get it done because I think the value is better now. Because there are teams, and I don't think everyone can solve their cornerback needs, But there are teams, Gold, that are desperate for wide receiver. One of those that gets mentioned, the Vikings and the Falcons. I think both of them aren't trading for Sneed yet because they want to find out who's the winner of the Kirk Cousins Prize Award for best quarterback on the free agent market. I think the second the Falcons sign Kirk Cousins and just give him money, they infinitely become way higher up the list on Sneed. So by Wednesday, no. But sooner rather than later, yes. Because I think the Falcons want to start formulating their plan for how do we take this team and make them a division competitor immediately. And you and I both think if they sign Kirk Cousins,
they're the favorite.
They're the favorite to win that division. But I think that they and the Vikings are waiting out a much bigger piece of the puzzle before they start going to make trades. And that's quarterback. They want to know what their plan at quarterback is, which I don't blame them for doing that. Also, I'm surprised. Normally in this first run, that's where like Kirk Cousins gets decided quick. You know, second teams can start tampering. You normally hear like Kirk Cousins has a home. That's why Baker got a deal done before the thing even kicked off. I would have thought that deal was done by now. But I just think there are enough trade partners you should just trade sooner rather than later.
But all three of us agree that he's getting traded, though. Like I
still think he's getting. I'd still put it like 70-30. He gets traded. 30% chance he plays on the tag.
Yeah, I'm like 90% guys that he gets traded now. I just now that the Chris Jones deal is done, and I understand that the first year cap number is not massive for Jones, where if you wanted to keep both for a year, you could, of course, if you really want to get something done, you can make it happen. Yeah. But I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense with where this team likely wants to go in the future from a financial aspect, and knowing that if you're going to be paying Chris Jones the kind of money they are in a few years and the cap number's big, well, you could use every draft pick you can get to make sure you got young talent on rookie deals that aren't making and breaking the bank. And that's what getting maybe, let's just call it a second-round pick back for Sneed, allows you to continue to do. It doesn't mean that you're taking that second-round pick and directly drafting a corner, but maybe you're drafting a wide receiver with that second-round pick.
Maybe a guard.
Who knows? Yeah, literally anything.
Not anything. I don't want a kicker or a punter.
I think we're safe. I don't think they're going to – Cody, something tells me that they're safe at kicker, punter, and long snapper.
I got tired for a while of all the second-round linebackers, but those guys are getting older now, so they're probably going to be back in that camp soon.
Worked out pretty good for them.
What do you mean, all the Super Bowls?
Yes, those Lombardi trophies.
It's funny though. It's not like everyone's been critical of something the Chiefs have done somewhere along the way.
Of course.
So bearing me on the running back thing's not fair, or the linebacker thing. I did not like linebacker.
Nick Bolton turned out to be a better player though.
Yes.
Than maybe you thought.
Yes.
And now they're going to have a decision. Thinking about that, we haven't even talked a ton about him today. That's the next. Everybody's focused on Sneed. He's the next player to watch a little bit, just of extension watch. Don't you agree he's maybe next up, anybody on the offensive line? Now maybe there's a restructure that involves Joe Tooney or something like that. We learned about, or heck, you and I discussed Justin Reed last week. I don't know. Maybe there's an extension there to lower the cap hit this year.
Or
I don't know.
But yeah.
Something like that. I still don't think they're cutting him, but yeah,
Nick
safeties
Bolton
kept
getting paid nothing over the weekend. So
I didn't see what the Broncos just signed some safety today. I don't even know what the hell he got. Brian Jones, I think, or something.
I think he
like
got
that.
like $4 million.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know who the hell that is. So do you?
You don't know, you knew who Justin Simmons was?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely did. No, Nick Bolton for a second. Like, he has a year left on his contract, and every indication based off of Spags' comments, I don't think they're letting him walk anytime soon. So I think he might actually be the next guy at some point maybe it's not even until May, I don't know, that gets an actual extension with the team out. Because that's always the question. Once somebody signs a big extension, who's next? And I could see Nick Bolton being the next guy at some point this offseason.
I think it's probably in that range. Depends on if they want to pay linebacker or not. My issue always with first and second round picks, and I know we'll talk about this more as we get to the draft, is first and second round picks specifically are picks I want to be used on players you are planning on giving a second contract to. When you draft a running back, you're not planning on giving him a second contract. And when you draft a linebacker, the odds of like a tackling linebacker, not a 3-4 linebacker, the odds of you giving a second contract are just less because those types of players don't get second contracts from their teams as often as corners, wide receiver, and it doesn't matter. The Chiefs haven't given a lot of second contracts to wide receivers either.
And it's not like Nick Bolton was a first-round pick. He wasn't.
No, I'm just talking about, like, I view all first and second-round picks as guys I'm drafting at positions I would like to give a second contract to. I think oftentimes, not like the good news is with Bolton, he should be highly considered for that. But they've had the second-rounders are all the guys they haven't gotten any extensions to. Like, Sky's never going to get an extension here. McColl didn't. The late first in Clyde didn't. Willie Gay won't. And, so it's like after a while, those you would like to be giving more money to one of those guys because it's going to help keep that kind of train moving. But again, we can talk about that as we get closer to the draft. I do think a second-round pick is in play for Sneed still. I just think there are way, way, way too many hungry cornerback teams. I'll be honest, I'd probably take a third if it was with a combo of picks.
Have to be an early third, though, right? It would have to be somebody at the top. The Patriots who have the third pick in the third round. It can't be a late third-round pick. That's, to me, not kind of acceptable compensation, in my opinion, for if I'm the Chiefs for L'Jarius Sneed. And that's why I was asking the question. Like, I don't know the answer to it. Do they believe that there's a chance that if the market dries up, is there more value waiting closer to the draft? The team gets desperate. They miss out on the one or two free agent corners that they wanted. None of them are as good as L'Jarius Sneed anyway. But I don't have the answer to that. Right now, the report is there's 7 teams. Nate narrowed it down even more to, I think, 3, but 7 teams that have inquired seriously about Sneed. He kind of narrowed it down to the Falcons, Vikings, and Colts a little bit. And we'll see. That's one of the questions maybe gets answered in the next 48, 72 hours, or maybe we have to wait quite some time. We know Chris Jones is not going anywhere anytime soon with his 5-year deal, really 3 years, $95 million guaranteed. It's now official. He put out that video. Drew played you some of the audio of that message that he had to Chiefs Kingdom. What's the feeling about his legacy now that he has a chance to play 95% or 100% of his career as a Chief? Like, there is now a real chance his last game is going to be played in a Chiefs uniform down the road. That was something that was very much in doubt 72 hours ago, or a little more than 72 hours ago. And now he's got a great chance to do that. And so much so I was thinking about where he's going to stack up in Chiefs history. And the only debate and only question that there will be defensively by the time his career is over is whether or not you think he actually is the best defensive player of all time, or if it's Derek Thomas. Those are the only two, man. They've had some great defensive players over the years, some Hall of Fame players over the years. But knowing that he's already got a couple rings, that he's now part of a dynasty, and he's one of the 3 key pieces to that, and the Chiefs proved with the deal that they view him as one of those 3 irreplaceable pieces to the dynasty.
If you give someone 5 years and $150 million, I know.
So that'll be the question. Like, has he surpassed Derek Thomas already? No. But if he's playing another 3-4 years and he retires as a Chief and he ends up getting close to that 100 sack mark, which would still be fewer than Derek Thomas, but he's got 4 or 5 rings, I think it'll be a very interesting conversation. He's got a chance to be the greatest Chiefs defensive player in history. And I know that's tough because Derek Thomas was sensational and incredible, and we all know the tragic loss, and who knows what the rest of his career would have been. So it's tough to, put someone that didn't get an opportunity to finish their career due to tragedy. But I think it'll be these 2. Those will be the only 2 we are even talking about.
So the toughest part for Chris Jones to overcome is the sack numbers. He's never going to catch Derek Thomas. Derek Thomas has 126 sacks.
I mean, think about that.
He's top 15 all time. So you're just not going to catch him. But he also plays a position where that's not the only job of that position. And I understand that defensive ends have other jobs, but you know what I'm saying? Like when it comes in outside linebackers, all that stuff. Chris Jones' job as an interior defensive lineman is a little bit different than what Derek Thomas's role was at that time, in a league time when it was easier to do it. I did want to go ahead and bring up, I was like, all right, real quick, I want to look up every Chiefs defensive Hall of Famer to make sure we're not missing anybody that we would include in this conversation. Bobby Bell, Willie Lanier, great players, but I wouldn't put above any of that. Emmett Thomas, Derek Thomas, obviously, and technically the only other one who played for the Chiefs, and with 2 other guys who played for the Chiefs and were on defense, Ty Law and Darrelle Revis.
Darrelle Revis, Chiefs legend.
Look, so truth is, there's not that much competition. It is Derek Thomas and Chris Jones. Chris Jones is already the second best player in Kansas City Chiefs history on defense.
I think so. I know there'll be some people that'll obviously push
back.
They
might put Willie Lanier or Bobby Bell or some of these other names. I think it's Chris Jones. I think the titles do help push him over.
No doubt. I also just think the era, and you can say some pros to playing in the 90s versus playing now. I still think with the way the league has shifted to rules that clearly favor the offense and it being an offensive game, that has to account for something as well. That you can, you touch a quarterback the wrong way and they'll flag you for a 15-yard penalty. That kind of stuff does matter in my thinking, at least for me personally, and how I'll view Chris Jones when it's all said and done. That's the rules that he had to play up against versus what some of the others we were just bringing up.
I also just think, I try really not just to ring count, right? I wouldn't just, like right now, I wouldn't put Chris Jones over Derek Thomas, even though Derek Thomas had 0 rings and Chris Jones has 3. I don't just flat ring count. But when I talk about a player's greatness, and I think about like other great defensive players, let's just say in NFL history, let's take it off of the Chiefs and just talk about the way you talk about great defensive players like Ray Lewis, right? Guys that everyone universally agrees, that is an all-time great defensive player. They tend to show up big in the postseason. So does Chris Jones. He's not just in the postseason collecting rings and hanging out. He's one of their most important players. In this last Super Bowl, he might have been the best player on the field in the last game of the year.
Boy, has that narrative changed, though, over the last 2 seasons.
Oh, I know, because the story going into that is that he didn't have sacks.
Yeah.
And people would pressure rate and all that stuff, and they point out the other stats. And it was Frank Clark who kept stealing all the postseason sacks. Right? He just consistently taking
that was a huge narrative.
It was.
About up until the AFC title game last year. Really, it was last year it changed for him in the AFC title game against Cincinnati. And they don't win this past year's Super Bowl without Chris Jones. They don't win the first one against the Niners without Chris Jones. Remember, against Jimmy Garoppolo, there was one play in particular. He caused Garoppolo to have to step up, get rid of the ball early. Otherwise, we might be having a different conversation about this dynasty right now. So in every single, either the AFC title game or in the Super Bowl, in each one of the wins, Chris Jones came up with massive plays. That's why he's a future Hall of Famer. But look, that the legacy aspect is not going to be decided for many, many years. And that's one that not everybody is going to universally agree on. That's why it's an interesting conversation. But he will absolutely, at the end of his career, have a chance to be right there or surpass Derek Thomas when it's all said and done.
Sorry, I did miss Buck Buchanan in the list of Chiefs Hall of Famers on defense. Sorry.
Oh, listing him off?
I was running through
You're good.
the lists kind of quick. He did have 70 career sacks as well.
There you go.
All right. Draft time, guys.
Sorry,
the
I
sounder.
don't usually talk through the sounder. I just wanted to get that.
Oh, no, it's totally fine. 2 rounds this time by The Athletic, and some of this could change.
2-round mock? Is this our first 2-round mock for the mock draft sounder?
It is. This came out today, this morning, before free agency hits, so some things could, change. But they've got the Kansas City Chiefs all the way down. We'll start with them this time. We haven't done that normally, but we'll start with them at 32, and then we'll go to the second round as well. They're not at 32, actually, boys. They trade up to pick 26 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The projected trade would be the Chiefs send 32 and 158 and a 2025 third-round pick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to get number 26 and number 124. So they basically move up 6 spots and 34. And they also have to give up a third-round pick from 2025 in order to
select too.
Moving up.
A.D. Mitchell at 26.
So they still got him taking a wide receiver, but they got to go higher.
Yes.
A.D. Mitchell got drafted to him at 32 a week ago. They're getting ripped off.
So I don't disagree. What's always this is why we do the mock draft sounder is I don't know, and it'll probably be the rest of Mahomes' career, and it certainly makes even more sense considering the wide receiver season that they just had. But I feel like every year, 75% of mock drafts have the Chiefs taking a wide receiver.
And have they taken one in the first round yet?
No.
Dude,
I know.
It's got to change.
This is a slightly different level of desperation.
And I think they're going to do it because my guess is people are going to be underwhelmed with the wide receiver they sign in free agency and freak out and lose their damn mind. But I don't think that's the full picture. They're going to sign a wide receiver that maybe people don't think is great, but they're going to then draft one very high. And so I don't know if it requires them to trade up from 32 to 26. But yeah, I would obviously be fine with that. I think the draft has to be part of the picture.
Interestingly enough, Xavier Worthy picked 63 in the second round, right ahead of where the Chiefs are at in 64. So they have him going all the way down there.
Big time.
The Chiefs might like the University of Texas, though, because they take A.D. Mitchell first round. They take Jatavian Sanders, the tight end, in the second round. So they go wide receiver, tight end in the Athletics mock draft. Do you like the sounds of that? Obviously, no
they've
tackle.
They've got more work to do on the offense after years and years and years of drafting defense, so probably.
Yeah, the tight end last year got brought up more. I think they do eventually have to plan for the future without Travis Kelce. I don't think, with all due respect to Noah Gray, I don't think he's like the long-term answer that I'd feel great about being my number one long-term. Tight end in the second round, I don't know if I'm sold on that. This year's draft class of tight end doesn't seem as deep as last year at all. So if they want to draft a tight end like later in the draft, I'm fine. There's another body to compete because Blake Bell might be done finally. So in terms of his career with a couple rings and everything. So it might be a situation where they need a third tight end. I don't know if you need that in the second round, though. I mean, this is before they even address, in this hypothetical, maybe an offensive lineman or a defensive tackle.
Yeah, and given that tight end is not that
just gave Chris Jones
depth.
Not to say they need a local guy, but Ben Sinnott had a really good combine. Guy from K-State, been mocked in the 4th round. Maybe he's a good value pick. There, interestingly enough, this mock has a lot of trades. The Chargers, they have trading back from 5 to number 9 with the Bears.
That's what's tricky. We used to have a no trade policy on the mocks because I can come up with any trade to have the Chiefs get the guy that I
mean,
can have
we're not
you
taking
get.
like rando dudes off Twitter's trade.
No.
I assume they're putting a little bit of fair stock value into it at least.
Right, but like last year, if I wanted Chris Olave, I could have done a mock draft and figured out a way to get the Chiefs to trade up to draft Chris Olave 2 years ago or whatever it was at this point.
Let's just agree that you can have trades, but they can't trade up past like 20.
I think 17 is like the cap. I'll cap
17? I was going to say in the 20s.
Yeah, I'll cap it at 17.
Past 20, yeah.
Because they might have an extra second-round pick with the Sneed trade.
They jumped up 6 spots.
Well, I agree.
I think the consensus there, too, is there was a trickle of wide receivers. Like Keon Coleman was taken ahead of A.D. Mitchell. They had that kind of going, too. But they have the Chargers trading back to 9 and taking an offensive tackle. They've got the Raiders taking Amarius Mims, offensive tackle from Georgia, and then the Broncos taking Quinyon Mitchell, corner from Toledo. So Chiefs going offense.
Couple of news and notes signings while we were talking about that. One bigger than the other. How about the Commanders signing former Cowboys edge rusher Dorrance Armstrong? The 3-year deal worth $45 million max. So Dan Quinn, who's now with the Commanders, signing a former Dallas Cowboy.
As a reminder.
Yeah, nice connection there. And then much smaller news, the Jags active again. This time they're signing former Broncos kicker Will Lutz to a 3-year deal.
When's Tommy Townsend coming off the board, you know?
That's Cincinnati. Find out when they want to make him the highest paid. Make him the highest. I hope they make. You know what? I hope they make Tommy Townsend the highest paid punter in the league. You know.
I'll tell you what. Based on the way he was talking about the apps at the Super Bowl,
Look out, Cincinnati.
I was about to say he needs a fresh city.
It's a fresh city.
Tommy needs a fresh start, not from a team perspective. Tommy needs a fresh start from on the apps perspective.
Yeah, some fresh swipe rights.
On the, in the Instagram DMs.
Yeah, maybe no swiping. Maybe it's just sliding in the DMs.
Whatever, but a fresh start from that perspective maybe could do Tommy some good.
The Bengals could desperately use Tommy Townsend.
I hope they make him the highest paid punter, Drew. I'm sure you do too.
What would that end up being?
$4
million?
$4.2 million a year, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, they have cap space and fairness, and they have to trade T. Higgins now.
They do.
It seems like, or they have the option
if you
to
missed
not
that
do
earlier,
it.
by the way, we talked about all these deals. T. Higgins also requested a trade to get out of Cincinnati, in case you missed that earlier.
His loss.
Wow.
Go on ahead and play with Bryce Young.
So we're already
Go ahead,
getting
T.
sour. Really? That guy helped you guys be good, and now it's good riddance, you loser?
I think
How
that
quickly things turn.
the consensus,
Everyone was
I think,
excited he was going to stay for a minute.
is around the conversation that his team had. Is they said, we don't want to go into the final season of his rookie deal talking about a contract. We want to wait until after. And they put the tag on early on in the hopes that they could get a long-term extension done. Everybody said that they hoped they could do it. Zach Taylor said it. Duke Tobin said it, the GM, and then Joe Burrow also said it. And out of nowhere, he requested a trade. And this is before they even had any conversation. So it's very, very weird dilemma, I guess, happening at Cincinnati. And they could make him play on the tag, but it's always tough when you make a player play on the tag who doesn't want to necessarily be there in the first place.
This is, I think, the point people make about the tag every year. The problem is that it affects 0.05%.
Yeah.
As a player, when you guys collectively bargain, you should desperately try to get rid of the tag. It sucks. Sucks for as a player, keeps him hostage for a year. Chris Jones could have got paid a whole year sooner. All that stuff, right? T. Higgins could get paid a whole year sooner. Just either give me an extension or let me walk. But I think this last year, I think like 8 people got tagged. The year before was like 7. Like, it doesn't affect, like, how many players are in the NFL? Are you really going to fight for something that affects less than a dozen players every single year in the NFL? And the answer is no. You got to fight for other things.
Yeah, the owners will gladly let you do that. That's the trap that the Player Association finds themselves in a lot.
They'll happily let
Mike Brown especially.
Tag. Oh, no.
Are you remembering, like, your T. Higgins memories already? Like, are you going back, the good moments you guys knowing that might be over for you and T. Higgins?
I almost sent a tweet to T. Higgins' mom apologizing on behalf of all the other Bengals fans who are like, F. T. Higgins, and like, settle down, all right?
They burning jerseys yet in Cincinnati?
No,
Has it gotten to that point?
They don't. The Bengals are not. If Chris Jones would have gone to the Raiders, how many Jones jerseys are getting burned? If T. Higgins
Raiders might be the only team where it would have been a little sour.
The Bengals wouldn't, or T. Higgins.
But T. Higgins hasn't even gone anywhere yet, and you're like, screw you.
I think it's
We'll
because
see if the Bengals even oblige and actually trade him.
I think they should.
See if they actually do that.
Because then you get into the holdout and all the other stuff, and it gets nasty. You just get what you can now and be.
What are
done
you
with it.
guys going to do when your number one wide receiver misses time again? What's the plan there? And since, like when your number one goes down and your number one quarterback goes down.
We're going to line
that's
up
what
Yoshi
happened
at
this
number
year.
one overall.
Because Jamar
number
Chase
wide
missed a
receiver.
couple games, didn't he? And then we all know
did.
Joe Burrow missed half the damn season.
Anybody know if Mike McCartney, not McCarthy,
The agent.
He's claiming that
He's
Kirk
an agent.
Cousins agrees to a 4-year deal with the Falcons. Tom Pelissero retweeted it? Retweeted it?
He's the agent.
Okay.
That's
Well, if he's the
Kirk
agent-
Cousins' agent.
Okay, well, then he's saying that Kirk Cousins is an Atlanta Falcon on a 4-year deal.
Yeah, that's the agent.
4
If
years.
assuming it's not the fake Twitter account, that's actually the agent of Kirk Cousins. And the Falcons have been the team that everybody assumed he was going
All right, Jordan
for.
Schultz now reporting it. Here comes the cavalcade of people
The
reporting.
team
They're reporting
has
it because
to-
his agent tweeted it out.
There has to be a bit where he goes to Magic City. There has to be something in there where he's wearing the chains as well.
I mean, let's talk more about this on the other side. We'll also have our conversation with Nate Taylor. But multiple reports now, Kirk Cousins, the big free agent quarterback, signing with the Atlanta Falcons. Coming up next here on Cody and Gold, we'll hear from Nate Taylor.
You're listening to Cody and Gold. Follow the show on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. 610 Sports Radio.
There's nothing quite like the Honda Accord Hybrid and the CR-V Hybrid when it comes to exhilarating efficiency. With hybrid technology and thrilling capability, these vehicles deliver an electrifying performance on every drive. But what truly makes these hybrids special is the unwavering determination that inspires everything we do. Redefine your driving experience with Honda, KBB.com's best value brand of 2023.
Based on 2023 brand image awards from Kelly Blue Book, visit kbb.com for more information.
Everyone's about the new GLP-1 class of weight loss medications, like semaglutide. This is Dr. Cody Myhills, Medical Director of Slim for Life. Let me tell you why everyone is buzzing. Semaglutide is effective, but it is so easy to regain your weight once you stop. That's why I recommend the personalized programs at Slim for Life. The Slim for Life individualized programs combined with semaglutide is a perfect combination. Plus, Slim for Life will teach you new eating habits. So not only do you lose the weight, they teach you how to keep it off. Don't lose your weight only to gain it back. Choose lasting results with Slim for Life.
Call today and schedule your free consultation. Let them know that you heard it from B-Dub and 610 Sports Radio. 833-SLIM today. That's the number you need to call. 833-754-6863. Or you can hit them online at slim4life.com. All services included, exclusive of products. So what are you waiting for? It's time to be happy and healthy in 2024. Make the call. Tell them B-Dub sent you.
This is the time of year to enjoy life. Stop letting that pain in your joints keep you from doing what you want to do this spring. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I'm talking long-lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. Pro athletes have been doing this for decades, but now this life-changing treatment is available for you. So you can walk and run and climb stairs and play golf and move again pain-free. No pain pills, no risky surgery. This is an all-natural solution. QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients who have reclaimed their mobility. Take action now and live your best life this spring and summer. And it's a great use of your tax refund check. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics off 435 in State Line and in Gladstone. 816-412-6299.
So I've been telling you about not needing contacts or glasses for quite some time now, thanks to DuraVision, thanks to a phone call that I finally made. I didn't put it off anymore. A free consultation at DuraVision, and you can schedule that on the phone at 913-491-3330 or go online to duravision.com. And I get asked about the cost of the LASIK procedure, and is it worth it financially as well? And what's really neat is if you go to Duri's website, duravision.com, they actually have a calculator you can customize to lay out the long-term expense that you have with glasses and contacts. So right now, if you go there and you think you're going to use contacts or glasses for another 15 years, you can select that. Annual cost of vision insurance, let's say it's $125. And an exam, another $125. Glasses, maybe $200. Contact lenses, $250. $100 for the contact lens solution. All of a sudden, Might be $12,000 you're going to spend over the next 15 years. So it ended up being a great financial decision as well. You can make that same decision by going to DurryVision.com or give them a call, 913-491-3330.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. A bottle of Lucas Complete Fuel Treatment can clean your system and help your engine get more MPGs. Right now, you can get 2 bottles for only $9.99. A great deal to help you go a great deal farther. Find Lucas Complete Fuel Treatment and everything you need for better fuel efficiency at any one of our 6,300 stores.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go, but I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there, providing hot meals, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
To learn more, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. A bottle of Lucas Complete Fuel Treatment can clean your system and help your engine get more MPGs. Right now, you can get 2 bottles for only $9.99. A great deal to help you go a great deal farther. Find Lucas Complete Fuel Treatment and everything you need for better fuel efficiency at any one of our 6,300 stores.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Is this
Coming
coming
up.
up? Should be playing Minnesota.
Bye. That's the reports during the break. And right before we went to break, Kirk Cousins, newest member of the Atlanta Falcons, the free agent quarterback, off the board. The Falcons add Cousins to that offense. That includes Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. Now the question will be, did the Falcons just go kind of all in for the next couple of years? Do they trade for L'Jarius Sneed? Is he the likely landing spot now? We haven't seen the dollar amount yet on the Kirk Cousins deal. We know it's a 4-year deal, according to multiple reports, and his agent directly, Mike McCartney. You and I, Carrington was in here as well. We were trying to guess what we think the contract is. I think year one, there's a chance it's $50 million in year one for Kirk Cousins.
I think it might be 4 for 2. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but Baker just got $30 million a year. He's nowhere near the accomplishment level. God, I mean, 4 years for like someone who's 36 coming off an injury. And I understand that 4 years isn't real 4 years in the NFL.
Right.
But it's still a long contract for an aging quarterback. I thought he might be in the 2 to 3 range.
So who's left quarterback-wise? Fields on the trade and Sam Darnold on a smaller deal. It's Fields and Darnold.
Far the best deal left on the table now. Like if you're Minnesota and you just want to find out, and again, they might not trade in division, but man, I
could see Sam Darnold signing in Minnesota.
This also means we should watch the Vikings for moving up. Like either they stay at 11 and take a quarterback, or they move up. If there's a team that you think wants to get to 4, 5, 6, 7 to take the next quarterback, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, whoever, you would think that they're absolutely up there.
What if you're Justin Jefferson right now? He hasn't signed his deal yet, smartly. Find out what your long-term quarterback is going to be. Get some reassurance before I'm signing a long-term deal to stay in Minnesota if I'm Jefferson.
By the way, James Palmer says his understanding is that the Vikings really made a strong push last night to keep Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
The Falcons were confident they could get this deal done and ended up doing so, even though Minnesota created a bidding war. So he's saying Minnesota drove this price up.
Yeah, I'm
but
always
not
hesitant.
enough that Atlanta wasn't going to get it done. I'm sure that sometimes that's the Vikings trying to appear not to look cheap. Yeah,
I'm hesitant for that very reason. Like, you never want to make, we tried. We did our best. We really, obviously you didn't really want him, or you would have kept him in Minnesota.
Boy, I don't know what the Vikings do at quarterback. I could just draft one.
I think that's
They got to trade up. They don't have a choice.
Yeah. Where are they at? 20-something? 22? Where are they at, guys?
11, I think. They're higher than you think.
They weren't that high. Because remember, Kirk had the injury, and they just...
Yeah, they didn't even make...
I think they're like pick 11.
Pick 11, they can definitely trade up then.
Yeah. No, I'm saying they definitely can. I'm just...
How many picks do they have in the first... What's the draft? Minnesota Vikings draft picks. I don't obviously have that.
I do think...
Vikings pick at number 11.
Okay.
So...
How high do they need to get? 4?
Go up.
3?
Yeah, they could...
In order to get who you want?
At 11, you could get 2, 3, 4. You could get that high if you want to get up there, depending on which is your guy. But
I think this was an all 32. I might have done it a couple of years or a couple of months ago. But if they got Kirk, I think are they a legit contender in the NFC because of that? The defense was really good last year. They got the weapons. The offense hopefully will be better with Kirk as quarterback.
Well, the Vikings...
I still just think you should just trade for Justin Fields if you're Vikings.
Yeah, you're talking about the Falcons, though, Drew. Yeah, I mean... The Falcons, to me, are going to be you can disagree, but they will be the favorites in the NFC South. It's not a good division. I understand the Bucs won it, but let's not act like the Bucs ran away when were dominant in the NFC South last year.
They were 9-8, right?
Yeah, so for me, the Falcons will be the favorite to win the NFC South. I think they will. And so by that logic, if you want to say they're a contender because they won the division, I guess. I'm not ready to fly. I need to see what that looks like and what they do in the draft before I'm willing to say the Falcons can be one of the 3 best teams in the NFC. I don't know about that. But they are definitely going to be the favorite to win the NFC South now that they have Kirk Cousins. So I still think it's underrated by most. I think he is better than average, which you would think that's all he is, according to a lot of people. I think he can be in that 10 to 12 range. But yes, Minnesota is going to have to absolutely trade up, it looks like, to get a quarterback, unless there's some other surprise in store over the next couple of days, which certainly could happen. It's a legal tampering period in the NFL. The ramifications on the Kirk Cousins signing with the Falcons is just L'Jarius Sneed. And do the Falcons say, okay, we got our quarterback, let's go ahead and just kind of go all in here, and let's go trade a second-round pick for L'Jarius Sneed?
And that would make a lot of sense, especially because they didn't have to give them the draft pick, right? Whatever pick, let's say that they were looking at a third-round pick for Justin Fields. They didn't have to give that up. The only logical team left for Fields now is Minnesota or the Raiders, probably, based on where they are at quarterback-wise. Those are the only teams that can compete there. But yeah, this opens up the fact that the Falcons have all their picks. All they had to do was give money to Kirk Cousins. How much hasn't been reported yet, by the way. We don't know exactly where the compensation formula is yet for him, but I mean, it makes Atlanta had to do this. By the way, you and I won't get to argue over Kyle Pitts anymore. Either Kyle Pitts will be good now or he won't.
Yeah,
no more
absolutely.
like, is Kyle Pitts really good? He won't have that excuse anymore.
No, I totally agree with you on that. Earlier today, we had Nate Taylor join us, and of course, our center focal point, I should say, of the conversation was around Chris Jones in the deal and what that actually means long-term for the Chiefs.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, fellas, as always. Yes, looking forward to a chaotic day, I would say, here in the NFL. As it regards to Chris, I did think a deal was going to get done because me and Diana Rossini, my colleague from The Athletic, we wrote a piece at the Combine saying that the Chiefs felt that they had, a growing sense of optimism that they were going to get a deal done. And obviously there's some details in a news story that I wrote for this morning that sort of details, sort of the first interaction that really matters between, the Katz brothers, Jason and Michael, the agents for Chris Jones, and obviously Andy Reid and Brett Beach, the dinner that they had in downtown Indianapolis during the Combine. So because there were teams lining up, and we can get into that here in a minute, the Chiefs knew it is much better to sign Chris Jones than to try to replace him, even at the age of 29 going into 30, and even considering the fact that he, won the negotiation. I know this is like strange to say because it so rarely happens. But one of the things I wanted to write, fellas, is it is extremely rare for a team to offer you an extension, right? And you tell your employer, nah, that's not good enough for me. And then you stay healthy the next season, you play extremely well, and then you prove your value in front of everybody in the league during the postseason, and you help your team win the Super Bowl. So even though the negotiations took over a year, even though there was a lot of twists and turns that I didn't necessarily see coming, and I wouldn't necessarily advise the Katz brothers on doing, they still win because Chris Jones is that rare athlete who can gamble on himself and come out victorious. And now he's the second highest paid defensive player in the league. And it's one of the first, I think it's the first time since I've covered the Chiefs where Clark Hunt has given this much to a player not named Patrick Mahomes on a contract extension or a new deal entirely. So, I reported last year, and it was accurate all the way through, that, look, he wanted a deal that was $30 million in terms of annual average salary. And now he's going to make 31.75, at least we assume, for the next 2 to 3 years. Obviously, I think the fourth and the fifth year of that deal is mostly funny money. Mostly you got to structure it a certain way. But the Chiefs gave a lot of concession to bring him back. And so in the grand picture of this, he's irreplaceable. And for that reason, he actually won the negotiation after a year-long battle.
Is some of the reason why he won the negotiation, obviously he played really well, because I said the same thing you did, Nate, which is, I don't think if you're another player, you should take this Chris Jones thing as, well, I'll just do that and it'll work out for me. Because I think 8 or 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work out for the player. But did the cap going up squeeze those last couple of million to the Chiefs that they're like, you know what, screw it?
I think that helps. I think the fact that Chris, played so well in the postseason and obviously helped the team win back-to-back Super Bowls helps. The idea that, everybody on the team in the organization wants to give a fair shot to go for a three-peat, right? It's going to be incredibly difficult. And we need to remind the listeners and fans from now until, however long the season goes, but look, nobody's ever done it. But the Chiefs at least have that rare chance to try. And so they're going to give it their best effort. And in order to do that, you need Chris Jones. I think the last part about this, fellas, is people will say, well, look, he's going into being 30, and L'Jarius Sneed is younger, and, he was just as good last year. And look, that's fine. There's no one who can generate a consistent pass rush in a red uniform more than him. So because he can disrupt so much of the opposing offense, and when I always think about what he did last year, it's the fact that Lamar Jackson was terrified of this man throughout much of the AFC Championship game, and that disrupted the entire rhythm of the Baltimore Ravens offense. So, yes, the salary cap going up definitely helps. The fact that the NFL is only going to print more money based on these new TV deals, great, of course. That's easily said than done. But when it comes to his age, we have to remind ourselves, the dude missed OTAs, mandatory minicamp, training camp, preseason, week 1, came in week 2 and was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm one of the best defensive players in the league. So he has done a great job keeping his body in shape, which could give the Chiefs confidence that, hey, he's going to still be a very productive player in years 31, years 32, maybe even so more productive than Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald is sort of tapered off, but at the same time, I do get the sense that Chris Jones, for a lot of this, has been able to sort of stave off what has normally been sort of the curve of how a player, rises and falls in terms of their decline. So look, if he can come back from week 1 saying, oh, I'm just asking a raise, and then really kind of prove his point and, just making life a living hell for Trevor Lawrence, then yeah, it makes total sense to think that he can still play at a very high level into his early 30s.
Nate, what about Sneed now? I mean, that's where the attention goes, right? Free agency is going to open up here soon, but still, that's the player. On the flip side, while you guys were reporting all the optimism on the side of Chris Jones, on the Sneed side, it seems like most of the momentum there is in the expectation that he's going to get traded. Is that more likely now that this Chris Jones deal is done, or does it change in the opposite way for you?
Say that one more time, fellas, because I think I have some information that I can give you right now.
Yeah, talking about L'Jarius Sneed and the likelihood that a trade happens.
Okay, that is going to happen. But I can tell you right now, and this just came down, Chris Jones has just passed his physical, and he is indeed signing his contract today. So I do want to get that out there.
There we go.
Okay.
And I believe I'm the first to report that. Who knows? I don't know if it's out there on Twitter yet.
That's why we have you on, man.
Yeah, I just got confirmation of that. So, again, he passed his physical. The contract is getting signed today. He might have a press conference of some sort either tomorrow or Wednesday. It kind of depends, of course, with the whole tampering period and when does free agency start and all that. But with everything that's gone on so far, they have to trade L'Jarius Sneed. It is so unfortunate. I also want to remind people of this too. Like, I feel bad for L'Jarius because he did nothing wrong. He played his rookie contract to a T how you ask a player when they come into the league, right? Hey, be a contributor as a rookie. Bingo. Hey, be a starter and, like, get a little bit better. Bingo. All of a sudden, now you're like, quote-unquote, a leader. You're our most experienced cornerback. And, oh, by the way, can you do, like, the whole shutdown corner situation? And he's like, sure, I'll do that, to the point that he gets franchise tagged and then gets traded. I mean, it's just unfortunate. If Chris Jones doesn't exist or isn't as impactful as a player, then yeah, it would have been a situation where he could have had a chance to get an extension. I know you guys have talked about Trent McDuffie. He sort of fits into the equation too, just because McDuffie is excellent. I mean, he's like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's so good. He just said, "Hey, Brandon Ayuk, cool. Hey, Deebo Samuel, fine." He shut down Calvin Ridley in week 2, and I just remember thinking, oh, they might be good this year if they got Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, and Chris Jones. They might be good. So it's unfortunate. There's like 6 teams. I think the Colts are involved. The Falcons could be involved, especially if they go get Kirk Cousins. So keep that in mind later today if Kirk Cousins indeed agrees to join the Atlanta Falcons, which, again, is hilarious because I cannot think of a single quarterback who is the antithesis of Hotlanta. Anyway, the Vikings are eligible as well, and I think the Detroit Lions have the most to potentially give the Chiefs in terms of multiple draft picks, right? Not necessarily the highest pick, but they could give maybe 2, maybe even 3 picks with a low pick sort of as a sweetener there at the end if they want to get really serious about obviously contending further in the NFC. So with all that said, I just think it's crazy that the Chiefs drafted and developed a player, right? That is what is asked of you to be a contending team. L'Jarius Sneed has never gotten in trouble. He's only gotten better. He is a quiet assassin on the field, and all he wants is to be paid what he's worth. And it's for whatever reason, because these collective bargaining agreements, allow the team to weaponize the franchise tag, he won't be on the team next year.
Something that Cody and I were discussing with Sneed is the timeline on a trade. We know he's got the $19.8 million tag right now. That goes against the cap once the league year starts up. Do you need to clear that out early so the Chiefs can make moves? Is that going to hinder them, or are they willing, do you think, to wait closer to the draft and maybe the corner market shrinks and they're able to get more value and compensation?
I think to a degree that's probably the case, right? I know there's multiple ways of doing that, but ultimately, because of the way the salary cap has really jumped this year and the fact that you can sort of anticipate, more growth, maybe not to the same degree as this past season, but you can anticipate growth in years 2024, 2025, 2026. I do think that's going to impact how the team can sort of maneuver, especially because you have so many young players on the roster, right? So even with trying to go out and maybe get a couple guys in free agency, some noteworthy players, I do get the sense that, like, hopefully with the money going up, all it should do is benefit the Chiefs.
When you look at the rest of free agency, Nate, before we let you go, all right, so we know maybe trade for Sneed. They just gave Chris Jones the money. League year starts in 10 minutes. If there was going to be a name that came off the board quick for KC, do you think it'll be on offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver? If they're day one buying, who is it?
I kind of want to say receiver, but it's not the receiver people think.
Yeah, it's like Darnell Mooney. Yeah.
I mean,
or that level.
Well, Curtis Samuel,
I mean.
Okay, so they're trading back for Tyreek then, is that?
I mean, there's only so much I can say. I have a general idea of where I think things are heading. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. A receiver will be contacted today. I can assure you that. I don't want to say which one.
What's his name rhyme with?
I think a receiver will be contacted today, and I get the sense too that a couple tackles will be talked to at some point today. Now, look, I don't know if anybody's going to agree to anything, but they understand that, like, okay, if you got Chris Dunn, mission accomplished. If you know you got to trade L'Jarius Sneed to create more cap space and to get more picks back, we anticipate that's going to happen. Next on the list is probably shoring up the left tackle position, whether that's Donovan Smith or someone else who just was released by the Dallas Cowboys, or acquiring a free agent receiver and then doubling down on the position and drafting another receiver with a high pick, right? First, second, maybe third round pick, depending on how it plays out in the draft. So those are the four major priorities. They've accomplished the first one, obviously, and we know that number two is kind of in the process of happening. Again, I think the moment Kirk Cousins tells us he's moving from Minneapolis to hot Atlanta, I think we'll get a sense of where L'Jarius Sneed will play next in his career.
Just to lean into the Atlanta stuff, should they just take him straight to a strip club? He can do it from Magic City, Kirk Cousins press conference.
Oh, look, man, bring the wife, get you some wings, and like ingratiate yourself to the locals. All right, like, look, we're not asking you to be Mike Vick. We're not even asking you to be Matt Ryan. What we are asking you to be is better than Desmond Renner, and that's all Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins doesn't have to say it, but every quote needs to be with, "And I'm better than Desmond Renner." That's where it needs to go. And for the Vikings, would you trade for Justin Fields if Kirk Cousins leaves? Because if you don't,
the price has gotten low enough, I would.
Yeah, and like we never really see interdivisional trades, but like, come on, like, don't sign Sam Darnold. That's boring as hell. And don't draft J.J. McCarthy. Don't put that on him. He'll be the worst quarterback in the division. So go get Justin Fields. But again, I think Kirk Cousins is probably headed to Atlanta, and that could gas up the Vikings to maybe go get L'Jarius Sneed. And if that happens, then I do think there's a real three-team, battle to the death between the Falcons, the Lions, and obviously the Lions. There's so many teams: Falcons, Lions,
Colts, right? No,
I mean, maybe Colts. But I think the Lions, the Vikings, and the Falcons are usually the top three teams right now.
Nate Taylor from The Athletic, our Chiefs insider. Appreciate the insight, and it's going to be a busy couple days.
Yes, it will be. I'm literally all over the place, guys. So thank you so much for having me on, and hopefully I sounded reasonable because there's just so much going on.
So that was Nate Taylor from The Athletic earlier with us today on the show, and we all know
Falcons for Sneed any minute, huh?
We'll talk more tomorrow, obviously, about what I assume will be another 30 moves that happens before we're back on the air tomorrow at 10 a.m. The numbers are in real quick, though, on the Falcons deal for Kirk Cousins, according to Ian Rappaport. 4-year deal worth $180 million. That's $45 million per on average. $90 million over the first two, $50 million at signing, and also Saquon Barkley signing a deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. 3 years, $37.75.
Could be worth upwards of 46. It's
$26 million guaranteed. I don't get that deal.
I don't understand the running back market at all.
You're listening to Cody and Gold
Talk to you tomorrow.
on your home for Royals baseball. 610 Sports Radio.
You call that a precision stop?
When a rookie stunt driver,
Just give me a shot.
meets the trainer